Did you know, in the books, Jaime and Cersei Lannister's mother, Joanna, actually caught them in the act when they were kids? He could never bear to be long apart from his twin. Even as children, they would creep into each other's bed and sleep with their arms entwined. Even in the womb, long before his sister's flowering or the advent of his own manhood, they had seen mares and stallions in the fields, and dogs and bitches in the kennels, and played at doing the same. Once, their mother's maid had caught them at it. He did not recall just what they had been doing, but whatever it was had horrified Lady Joanna. She'd sent the maid away, moved Jaime's bedchamber to the other side of Castle Rock, set a guard outside Cersei's, and told them that they must never do that again, or she would have no choice but to tell their Lord Father. They need not have feared though. It was not long after that she had died birthing Tyrion. Jaime barely remembered what his mother had looked like. Cersei Lannister responded in a different way when immediately learning about her father Tywin's death. No, that cannot be. That is not the way a lion dies. The Queen felt strangely calm. She remembered the first time she had lost a tooth, when she was just a little girl. It hadn't hurt, but the hole in her mouth felt so odd she could not stop touching it with her tongue. Now there is a hole in the world where father stood, and holes want filling. If Tywin Lannister was truly dead, no one was safe, least of all her son upon his throne. When the lion falls, the lesser beasts move in, the jackals and the vultures and the feral dogs. They would try to push her aside, as they always had. She would need to move quickly, as she had when Robert died. This might be the work of Stannis Baratheon, through some catspaw. It could well be the prelude to another attack upon the city. She hoped it was. Let him come. I will smash him, just as father did, and this time he will die. Stannis did not frighten her, no more than Mace Tyrell did. Jaime Lannister considered openly marrying Cersei and emulating the Targaryens after their rumored incest came to light in Westeros. Perhaps Stannis Baratheon and the Starks had done him a kindness. They had spread their tale of incest all over the Seven Kingdoms, so there was nothing left to hide. Why shouldn't I marry Cersei openly and share her bed every night? The dragons always married their sisters. Septons, lords, and small folk had turned a blind eye to the Targaryens for hundreds of years. Let them do the same for House Lannister. It would play havoc with Joffrey's claim to the crown, to be sure, but in the end, it had been swords that had won the Iron Throne for Robert, and swords could keep Joffrey there as well, regardless of whose seat he was. We could marry him to Marcilla once we've sent Sansa Stark back to her mother. That would show the realm that the Lannisters are above their lords, like gods and Targaryens. We get the immediate reaction from Cersei Lannister when she learns that Shae was also found dead near her father Tywin. My Lord Father had no use for oars, she thought. After our mother died, he never touched a woman. She gave the guardsman a chilly look. This is not. When Lord Tywin's father died, he returned to Castle Rock to find a woman of this sort, bedecked in his lady mother's jewels, wearing one of her gowns. He stripped them off her, and all else as well. For a fortnight she had paraded naked through the streets of Lannisport to confess to every man she met that she was a thief and a harlot. That was how Lord Tywin Lannister dealt with oars. He never. This woman was here for some other purpose, not for... Perhaps his lordship was questioning the girl about her mistress, Qyburn suggested. Sansa Stark vanished the night the king was murdered, I have heard. That's so. Cersei seized on the suggestion eagerly. He was questioning her, to be sure. There can be no doubt. She could see Tyrion leering his mouth twisted into a monkey's grin beneath the ruin of his nose. We get a small glimpse into Shae's betrayal of Tyrion Lannister and how she was bribed by Cersei to stand as a witness against him. Shae. Her name was Shae, Cersei remembered after discovering Shae's body near Tywin Lannister's. They had last spoken the night before the dwarf's trial by combat, after that smiling Dornish snake offered to champion him. Shae had been asking about some jewels Tyrion had given her, and certain promises Cersei might have made, a manse in the city and a knight to marry her. The Queen made it plain that the Oar would have nothing of her until she told her where Sansa Stark had gone. You were her maid. Do you expect me to believe that you knew nothing of her plans? She had said. Shae left in tears. In the show, Littlefinger schemed in shadows, but in the books, his plots cut deeper. With Elaine, or Sansa. His fatherly warmth curdles into manipulation, and his every word is a dagger wrapped in silk. Here, Littlefinger delivers one of his sharpest takes on the state of the realm. You would not believe half of what is happening in King's Landing, sweetling. Cersei stumbles from one idiocy to the next, helped along by her council of the deaf, the dim, and the blind. I always anticipated that she would beggar the realm and destroy herself, but I never expected she would do it quite so fast. It is quite vexing. I had hoped to have 4 or 5 quiet years to plant some seeds and allow some fruits to ripen, but now it is a good thing that I thrive on chaos. What little peace and order the 5 kings left us will not long survive the 3 queens, I fear. Now, that's not just gossip. It's Littlefinger quietly savoring the storm he helped create. Cersei Lannister initially wanted her brother Jaime to succeed Tywin as Hand of the King to Tommen. Jaime hugged her, his good hand pressing against the small of her back. He smelled of ash, but the morning sun was in his hair, giving it a golden glow. She wanted to draw his face to hers for a kiss. Later, she told herself. Later, he will come to me for comfort. We are his heirs, Jaime, she whispered. It will be up to us to finish his work. You must take father's place as Hand. You see that now, surely. Tommen will need you. He pushed away from her and raised his arm, forcing his stump into her face. A hand without a hand. A bad jape, sister. Don't ask me to rule. Rule? I said nothing of ruling. I shall rule until my son comes of age. I don't know who I pity more, her brother said. Tommen or the 7 kingdoms. She slapped him. Jaime's arm rose to catch the blow. Cat quick, but this cat had a crippled stump in place of a right hand. Her fingers left red marks on his cheek. Cersei Lannister planned on naming her uncle Kevin as the new Hand of the King following Tywin's death. Initially, she wanted Jaime to be the successor, but quickly changed her mind. She also suspected the Tyrells to have played a part in her father's death, so Mace Tyrell was automatically ruled out. I must have been mad to think he could be Hand. She would sooner abolish the office. When had a Hand ever brought her anything but grief? Jon Arryn put Robert Baratheon in her bed, and before he died, he'd begun sniffing about her and Jaime as well. Eddard Stark took up right where Arryn had left off. His meddling had forced her to rid herself of Robert sooner than she would have liked, before she could deal with his brothers. Tyrion sold Marcella to the Dornishmen, made one of her sons his hostage, and murdered the other. And when Lord Tywin returned to King's Landing, the next Hand will know his place, she promised herself. It would have to be Sir Kevin. Her uncle was tireless, prudent, unfailingly obedient. She could rely on him, as her father had. The hand does not argue with the head. Brienne of Tarth considered if Sansa Stark was actually murdered for her part in Joffrey's death, and whether Jaime sent her off to look for her to conceal her death. Interestingly, Brienne didn't believe Jaime was capable of such a thing. She found herself wondering whether Jaime had given her this task as some cruel jape. Perhaps Sansa Stark was dead, beheaded for her part in King Joffrey's death, buried in some unmarked grave. How better to conceal her murder than by sending some big stupid wench from Tarth to find her? Jaime would not do that. He was sincere. He gave me the sword and called it Oathkeeper. Anyway, it made no matter. She had promised Lady Catelyn that she would bring back her daughters, and no promise was as solemn as one sworn to the dead. The younger girl was long dead, Jaime claimed. The Arya the Lannisters sent north to marry Roose Bolton's bastard was a fraud. That only left Sansa. Brienne had to find her. As the commander of the Night's Watch, Jon Snow sends Aemon Targaryen along with Samwell Tarly and Gilly to Oldtown, with the main reason being to protect him from Melisandre. Aemon? Maester Aemon? But he's 102 years old, my lord. He can't. You're sending him and me? Who will tend to the ravens? If they're sick or wounded, who? Sam said. Clydas. He's been with Aemon for years. Clydas is only a steward, and his eyes are going bad. You need a maester. Maester Aemon is so frail. A sea voyage, it might... He's old and... His life will be at risk. I am aware of that, Sam. But the risk is greater here. Stannis knows who Aemon is. If the Red Woman requires King's blood for her spells... Oh... Sam paled. Cersei Lannister revealed that nobody in King's Landing had any love for Tywin Lannister. This was after her son, Tommen, noted how there were empty streets following Tywin's death. Tommen peered through the drapes at the empty streets. "I thought there would be more people. When father died, all the people came out to watch us go by. The rain has driven them inside." King's Landing had never loved Lord Tywin. He never wanted love though. "You cannot eat love, nor buy a horse with it, nor warm your halls on a cold night," she heard him tell Jaime once when her brother had been no older than Tommen. Arya Stark's first true encounter in the House of Black and White involved her kissing a priest with a yellow skull. Jaqen H'ghar notably took the place of this priest in the show. "Do you fear death?" Arya bit her lip. "No. Let us see." The priest lowered his cowl. Beyond, he had no face, only a yellowed skull with a few scrapes of skin still clinging to the cheeks, and a white worm wriggling from one empty eye socket. "Kiss me, child," he croaked, in a voice as dry and husky as a death rattle. "Does he think to scare me?" Arya kissed him where his nose should be and plucked the grave worm from his eye to eat it, but it melted like a shadow in her hand. The yellow skull was melting too, and the kindliest old man that she had ever seen was smiling down at her. "No one has ever tried to eat my worm before," he said. "Are you hungry, child?" "Yes," she thought, but not for food. There's a moment where Cersei Lannister may have realized she wished Tommen was more like Joffrey. "The gods are weeping for grandfather. Lady Jocelyn says the raindrops are their tears," Tommen said. "Jocelyn Swift is a fool. If the gods could weep, they would have wept for your brother. Rain is rain. Close the curtain before you let any more in. That mantle is sable. Would you have it soaked?" Tommen did as he was bid. His meekness troubled her. A king had to be strong. Joffrey would have argued. He was never so easy to cow. "Don't slump so," she told Tommen. "Sit like a king. Put your shoulders back and straighten your crown. Do you want it to tumble off your head in front of all your lords?" While traveling to Braavos, Arya Stark denounced the Seven and seemed to gravitate more towards the old gods of the north. "Is the Titan the god of Braavos?" she asked. "Or do you have the Seven?" "All gods are honored in Braavos," the captain's son said. "Your Seven have a sept here, the sept beyond the sea, but only Westerosi sailors worship there. They are not my Seven. They were my mother's gods, and they let the Freys murder her at the Twins." She wondered whether she would find a godswood in Braavos, with a werewood at its heart. During Tywin Lannister's wake, Cersei was only thinking about surpassing him and creating her own legacy. Lord Tywin's eyes are closed forever now, Cersei thought. It is my look they will flinch from now, my frown that they must fear. I am a lion too. The Lord of Castle Rock deserved rainbows. He had been a great man. I shall be greater though. 1,000 years from now, when the maesters write about this time, you shall be remembered only as Queen Cersei's sire. Cersei Lannister was ready to have Ilyn Payne tend to the mountain and finish him off until Qyburn suggested experimenting with Sir Gregor Clegane. Gregor is a very large man, also a very stupid one. Too stupid to know when he should die, it seems. His screaming frightens Tommen. It has even been known to wake me of a night. I would say it is past time we summon Ilyn Payne. "Your Grace," said Qyburn, "mayhaps I might have Sir Gregor to the dungeons. His screams will not disturb you there, and I will be able to tend to him more freely." "Tend to him?" she laughed. "Let Sir Ilyn tend to him, if that is your Grace's wish," Qyburn said. "But this poison, it would be useful to know more about it, would it not? Send a knight to slay a knight, and an archer to kill an archer, the small folk often say. To combat the black arts." He did not finish the thought, but only smiled at her. He is not Pycelle, that much is plain. The Queen weighed him, wondering, "Why did the Citadel take your chain?" There's a funny moment where Cersei Lannister thinks of Walder Frey while chatting to Lancel Lannister about his wedding to a Frey girl. A Frey girl, and not one of my choosing. She is not even a maiden, a widow, of Darry blood. My father says they will help me with the peasants, but the peasants are all dead. He reached for her hand. "It is cruel, Cersei. Your Grace knows that I love House Lannister," she finished for him. No one can doubt that, Lancel. May your wife give you strong sons. Best not let her lord grandfather host the wedding though. I know you will do many noble deeds in Dari. Kevan Lannister had suspicions about Jaime and Cersei and even alluded to Tommen being a bastard during an argument with Cersei. The king is my son, Cersei rose to her feet. Aye, her uncle said, and from what I saw of Joffrey, you are as unfit a mother as you are a ruler. She threw the contents of her wine cup full in his face. Sir Kevan rose with a ponderous dignity. Your grace. Wine trickled down from his cheeks and dripped from his close-cropped beard. With your leave, might I withdraw? Traitor, she thought. Turncloak. She wondered how much Mace Tyrell had given him. You would abandon your king when he needs you most, she told him. You would abandon Tommen. Tommen has his mother. Sir Kevan's green eyes met her own, unblinking. A last drop of wine trembled wet and red beneath his chin, and finally fell. Aye, he added softly, after a pause. And his father too, I think. Jaime Lannister blames himself for his father's dying. Allow me to stand tonight in your stead, Sir Loras offered. He was not your father. You did not kill him. I did. Tyrion may have loosed the crossbow bolt that slew him, but I loosed Tyrion. Leave me. My hand is hungry for a sword. I need to kill someone. Varys for a start. But first, I need to find the rock he's hiding under. I commanded the eunuch to take him to a ship, not to a bedchamber, he told the corpse. The blood is on his hands as much as Tyrion's. The blood is on his hands as much as mine, he meant to say. But the words stuck in his throat. Whatever Varys did, I made him do. There's a rare moment when Jaime Lannister gave counsel to his true-born son and king-to-be, Tommen. This was when Tommen couldn't take the smell of Tywin's rotting corpse and had to leave. I'm sorry, Tommen wept. I will do better on the morrow. Mother says a king must show the way, but the smell made me sick. This will not do. Too many eager ears and watching eyes. Best we go outside, your grace. I wasn't scared, the boy insisted. The smell made me sick. Didn't it make you sick? How can you bear it, uncle, sir? I have smelled my own hand rotting, when Vargo Hoat made me wear it for a pendant. A man can bear almost anything, if he must, Jaime told his son. I have smelled a man roasting as King Aerys cooked him in his own armor. The world is full of horrors, Tommen. You can fight them, or laugh at them, or look without seeing. Go away, inside. There's a moment where Jaime Lannister tells Cersei she sounded like the Mad King when she planned on burning the Tower of the Hand. To this, Cersei replies with scorn, and then wonders how she ever loved her twin brother. If these flames spread beyond the tower, you may end up burning down the castle, whether you mean to or not. Wildfire is treacherous. Lord Halley has assured me that his pyromancers can control the fire. The Guild of Alchemists had been brewing fresh wildfire for a fortnight. Let all of King's Landing see the flames. It will be a lesson to our enemies. Now you sound like Aerys. Her nostrils flared. Guard your tongue, sir. I love you too, sweet sister. How could I have ever loved that wretched creature? She wondered after he had gone. He was your twin, your shadow, your other half, another voice whispered. Once perhaps, she thought, no longer. He has become a stranger to me. That the children of the forest and weirwood trees are so much more fascinating in the books. The trees don't just witness, they remember. Through Jojen Reed's Talk with Bran, George R.R. Martin reveals their profound bond of memory, magic, and nature. A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies, says Jojen. The man who never reads lives only one. The singers of the forest had no books, no ink, no parchment, no written language. Instead, they had the trees, and the weirwoods above all. When they died, they went into the wood, into leaf and limb and root, and all the trees remembered. All their songs and spells, their histories and prayers, everything they knew about this world. Maesters will tell you that the weirwoods are sacred to the old gods. The singers believe They are the old gods. Simply put, the weirwoods are living archives of a forgotten world, carrying voices that still echo through the silence of Westeros. Jaime Lannister is in denial after Tyrion tells him that Cersei had been bedding Osmond Kettleback among others and kept repeating his brother's words in his head. Cersei waited until the rest were in their places to make her entrance, with Tommen at her side. So Osmond Kettleback paced beside them in his white enamel plate and white wool cloak. She's been effing Lancel and Osmond Kettleback and Moonboy for all I know. Jaime had seen Kettleback naked in the bathhouse, had seen the black hair on his chest and the coarser thatch between his legs. He pictured that chest pressed against his sister's, that hair scratching the soft skin of her breasts. She would not do that. The imp lied. Spun gold and black wire tangled, sweaty. Kettleback's narrow cheeks clenching each time he thrust. Jaime could hear his sister's moan. No, a lie. Cersei Lannister was not pleased that Margaery Tyrell ended up marrying Tommen so soon after Joffrey's death. Margaery wore the same gown she had worn to marry Joffrey, an airy confection of sheer ivory silk, Myrish lace and seed pearls. Cersei herself was still in black, as a sign of mourning for her murdered firstborn. His widow might be pleased to laugh and drink and dance and put all the memory of Joff aside, but his mother would not forget him so easily. This is wrong, she thought. It is too soon. A year, 2 years. That would have been time enough. Highgarden should have been content with a betrothal. Cersei stared back to where Mace Tyrell stood between his wife and mother. You forced me into this travesty of a wedding, my lord, and I shall not soon forget it. We get some insight as to how Jaime Lannister got Lord Varys to free Tyrion from his cell. He had waited in the eunuch's chambers that night, when at last he had decided not to let his little brother die. Jaime stepped out behind him, kicked him in the back of the knee, knelt on his chest, and shoved the knife up under his soft white chin, forcing his head up. "Why, Lord Varys," he said pleasantly, "fancy meeting you here." "So Jaime," Varys panted, "you frightened me." "I meant to." When he twisted the dagger, a trickle of blood ran down the blade. "I was thinking you might help me pluck my brother from his cell before Sir Ilyn lops his head off. It is an ugly head, I grant you, but he has only the one." Varys struggled to a sitting position. "Your brother? If the imp should vanish unaccountably from his cell, questions would be asked. I would fear for my life." "Your life is mine. I do not care what secrets you know. If Tyrion dies, you will not long outlive him. I promise you." "Ah." The eunuch sucked the blood off his fingers. Cersei Lannister was frequently insecure about her own beauty once Margaery Tyrell entered the fold as the young queen. Cersei glanced past Tommen to where Margaery sat laughing with her father. She is pretty enough, she had to admit, but most of that is youth. Even peasant girls are pretty at a certain age, when they are still fresh and innocent and unspoilt, and most of them have the same brown hair and brown eyes as she does. Only a fool would ever claim she was more beautiful than I. The world was full of fools, however. So was her son's court. HBO's A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is based on 3 novellas by George R.R. Martin called The Tales of Dunk and Egg. These stories take place 100 years before Game of Thrones, in a Westeros where dragons are a fading memory. Season 1 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms seems to be adapting The Hedge Knight, which follows Dunk, a knight with no great house backing him, and so he takes on a new squire called Egg because of his shaved head. This story is a lighter version of Game of Thrones, the same way The Hobbit was a lighter version of The Lord of the Rings. Therefore, the tone is lighter and more comedic, focusing on the lives of ordinary small folk instead of the Iron Throne. This might be exactly what the Game of Thrones universe needs just before we go into the epic battles of Season 3 of House of the Dragon. Ira Parker, the showrunner of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, has decided to explore how weak House Targaryen has become after the Dance of the Dragons. He explains, they, the Targaryens, find themselves finally without the thing that put them in power, which is such a precarious position to be in. 50 years on from the dragons, people are starting to ask the question, well, why are we still letting them be in power? With the rise of Dunk, we're just over 50 years after the death of the last dragon. But that wasn't even much of a dragon, Parker notes. It was a sort of gnarled thing that couldn't even fly. If you can't fly, what are you really? They're just a fancy lizard. At this time period, nobody's thinking about magic, the showrunners further explain. This could basically be 14th century Britain, and we're not with the lords and ladies, the kings and queens. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 2 and 3 have been greenlit because the reception to Season 1 has been so positive, even from George R.R. Martin. Although this was also probably done because the egg actor will grow up soon, so they can't wait 2 years between each season. Also, Season 1 will only have 6 episodes, and each episode will likely be 30 minutes long, which will be quite different from all previous Game of Thrones content and no opening title sequence. We get some interesting insight into Marcella and her dynamics with Joffrey and Tommen Baratheon. Tommen is king now, and he is not his brother, Aerys Oakheart said. Nor is he his sister, Arianna replied. It was true. Tommen was a good-hearted little man who always tried his best, but the last time Sir Aerys saw him, he had been weeping on the quay. Marcella never shed a tear, though it was she who was leaving hearth and home to seal an alliance with her maidenhood. The truth was, the princess was braver than her brother, and brighter and more confident as well. Her wits were quicker, her courteous more polished. Nothing ever daunted her. Not even Joffrey. The women are the strong ones, truly. Arguably Westeros' most legendary knight once started with nothing but a horse, a shield, and a dream. Sir Duncan the Tall, Dunk as he's called, was just a flea-bottom orphan who squired for an old hedge knight. When his master Sir Arlen Pennytree dies, Dunk lies and claims that Sir Arlen knighted him, meaning Westeros' greatest knight, like Brienne, was never knighted. In the trailer, Dunk heads to Ashford Meadow to compete in a tourney he can barely afford, where he'll have a run-in with House Targaryen. Spoilers for the first few episodes of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But imagine Duncan's surprise at finding out your bold little squire is actually a Targaryen prince. That is because Egg is a young Targaryen princeling, the 4th son and 5th child of Prince Mikar Targaryen and his wife Diana Dane. Aegon served at court in King's Landing for 2 years as a page, sometimes attending to the small council. Aegon owns a dragon egg, which is colored green and white, and had been placed in his cradle with him when he was a babe. Warning, spoilers for the first few episodes of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But did you know Egg, the young bold squire who is secretly a Targaryen, has the most messed up siblings imaginable? Aegon's older brother, Aerion, threw Aegon's pet cat down a well and once visited Aegon in his bedroom during the dead of night, put a knife to Aegon's privates, and joked about removing his genitals so he would become a girl whom Aerion could marry. Also, Aegon's sister, Rhae, slipped a love potion into his drink so that he would marry her and not their sister, Daela, to whom he might have been betrothed. Aegon did not wish to marry, instead dreaming of becoming a knight of the Kingsguard, who are sworn not to wed. His eldest brother Daeron is a drunk who abandons young Egg so he can drink himself into a stupor. Arianna Martell and Sir Aerys Oakheart talk about Robert Baratheon and, in particular, Joffrey. My uncle always said that it was the sword in a man's hand that determined his worth, not the one between his legs, Arianna said. So spare me all your pious talk of soiled cloaks. It is not our love that has dishonored you. It is the monsters you have served and the brutes you've called your brothers. That cut too close to the bone. Robert was no monster. He climbed onto his throne over the corpses of children, she said. Though I will grant you, he was no Joffrey. Joffrey, he had been a handsome lad, tall and strong for his age, but that was all the good that could be said of him. It still shames Sir Aerys to remember all the times he'd struck that poor Stark girl at the boy's command. When Tyrion had chosen him to go with Marcella to Dorne, he lit a candle to the warrior in thanks. Who are we going to meet in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1? Well, despite Duncan and Egg, there is also Tanacelli Tutol, who is part of a group of Dornish puppeteers, and they perform at the Ashford tourney in 209 AC. Tanacel's uncle carves the puppets, while she paints them. There is also Prince Baelor Targaryen, called Breakspear, who is mentioned by name in the trailer. There is also Sir Lionel Laughing-Storm Baratheon, who is the head of House Baratheon and has a habit of laughing while disposing of his opponents in battle. Think a young Robert Baratheon. Aerion Targaryen, nicknamed Bright Flame because he is as beautiful as he is mad. Think of him as being like Daenerys' brother Viserys, while the Targaryens are still in power. We get a House of the Dragon reference from Sir Aerys Oakheart and Ariana Martell. The first Viserys intended his daughter Rhaenyra to follow him. Do you deny it? But as the king lay dying, the Lord Commander of his Kingsguard decided that it should be otherwise, Ariana said. Sir Criston Cole. Criston, the Kingmaker, had set brother against sister and divided the Kingsguard against itself, bringing on the terrible war the singers named the Dance of the Dragons. Some claimed he acted from ambition, for Prince Aegon was more tractable than his willful older sister. Others allowed him more nobler motives and argued that he was defending ancient Andal custom. A few whispered that Sir Criston had been Princess Rhaenyra's lover before he took the White and wanted vengeance on the woman who had spurned him. The Kingmaker wrought grave harm, Sir Aerys said, and gravely did he pay for it. The biggest problem with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is that, like Game of Thrones, it is not yet finished. George R.R. Martin said he planned to write 6 to 12 stories in the Tales of Dunk and Egg, but only 3 are done, which means, like Game of Thrones, we'll get 3 really good seasons before they'll run out of book material. Which is a shame, because one of the planned stories has Dunk and Egg go to Winterfell, where they resolve a succession dispute within House Stark. Now, spoilers ahead. It is also theorized that Dunk gets together with Old Nan and Hodor is a descendant of them, but that is pure speculation. Anyway, it would be really cool to see Egg become King of Westeros, so maybe they could do that in Season 4 and 5, although, unless they have great writers, it probably won't do any good. Still though, what do you think about the future of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? It looks like House of the Dragon Season 3 will be coming out in June of 2026, which means in January we will get A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms and then House of the Dragon 5 months later. After that, we get Harry Potter Season 1 in early 2027 and Season 2 of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms probably in 2027 or 2028, followed by the final season of House of the Dragon most likely in 2028, and then 6 more seasons of Harry Potter, as well as Aegon the Conqueror TV show. That is still in early production. King Daeron II Targaryen, or Daeron the Good, is considered one of the better kings of Westeros, and here's why. He united the realm through diplomacy, not war, by bringing Dorne peacefully into the Seven Kingdoms through marriage, and negotiation by his marriage to Princess Myra and his sister's marriage to Prince Meryn. This ended centuries of hostility between Dorne and the Iron Throne. Unlike his father, Aegon IV, or Aegon the Unworthy, Daeron ruled with integrity and fairness. He repaired the moral reputation of House Targaryen and restored public trust in the monarchy. His calm demeanor, reasoned policies, and willingness to work with others made him one of the most respected and capable monarchs of his dynasty. He also won the first Blackfyre rebellion against his bastard half-brother, Daemon Blackfyre, the illegitimate son of Aegon the Unworthy. However, it's sad to think what he could have accomplished if he had his own dragon. So, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms actually looks really good. I thought the trailer nailed the tone. Grounded, character-focused, and way closer to that early Game of Thrones vibe we've all been missing. I loved the original Dunk and Egg stories and always thought they make a great show. So seeing this cast and the production quality looking this solid is honestly exciting. Some of the best Game of Thrones seasons were the early ones that followed the books closely, and it really feels like that's the approach they're taking here, which is awesome. Sure, 6 short episodes might leave us wanting more, but if they stay true to the source material, we could be looking at something that captures that original Thrones magic all over again. Anyway, what did you think of the trailer? Are you hyped for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? 6 Targaryen kings ruled in between House of the Dragon and the start of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Here is what you'll need to know about each of them. The first was Aegon III Targaryen, or Aegon the Younger. He reigned from 131 AC to 157 AC. After the devastation of the Dance, Aegon III restored stability and rebuilt the realm's strength, though his reign was marked by melancholy and the extinction of dragons. Next was Daeron I Targaryen, or the Young Dragon who Jon Snow admired. He reigned from 157 AC to 161 AC. At just 14, Daeron I conquered Dorne through bold military campaigns, briefly uniting all of Westeros before being killed in a Dornish uprising. Next was Baelor I Targaryen, or Baelor the Blessed, and he reigned from 161 AC to 171 AC. A deeply pious ruler, Baelor I sought peace with Dorne and spiritual purity across the realm, building the Great Sept of Baelor and prompting the faith above all else. After his death, his uncle, Viserys II Targaryen, reigned from 171 AC to 172 AC. A wise and capable administrator who had long served as Hand of the King, Viserys II introduced financial and bureaucratic reforms that strengthened the royal treasury. Sadly, his son was Aegon IV Targaryen, or Aegon the Unworthy. He reigned from 172 AC to 184 AC, a corrupt and decadent ruler whose numerous bastards and final act of legitimizing them all plunged the realm into chaos, setting the stage for the Blackfire rebellions. Finally, Daeron II Targaryen, Daeron the Good, reigned from 184 AC to 209 AC. A diplomatic and cultured king who brought Dorne peacefully into the realm, prompted learning, and presided over one of the most stable and enlightened periods in Targaryen history. We get more of a backstory on Podrick Payne from Brienne of Tarth. His was a lesser branch of House Payne. His father had spent his life spurning for richer cousins and had spied Podrick upon Chandler's daughter he'd wed before going off to die in the Greyjoy Rebellion. His mother had abandoned him with one of those cousins when he was 4, so she could run after a wandering singer who had put another baby in her belly. The boy had attached himself to a fat hedge knight named Sir Lorimer the Belly, who was part of Lord Letford's contingent, charged with protecting the baggage train. "The boys who guard the foodstuffs always eat the best," Sir Lorimer liked to say, until he was discovered with a salted ham he'd stolen from Lord Tywin's personal stores. Tywin Lannister chose to hang him as a lesson to other looters. Podrick had shared the ham and might have shared the rope as well, but his name had saved him. So Kevan Lannister took charge of him, and sometime later sent the boy to squire for his nephew, Tyrion. Jaime Lannister, serving as Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, had a desire to pick his own men for Kingsguard members, but given his standing in King's Landing, it seemed unlikely to ever happen. "How fares your king?" Kevan Lannister's tone made the question a reproach. "Well enough," Jaime said defensively. "Balon Swan is with him during the mornings, a good and valiant knight." Once that went without saying when men spoke of those who wore the white cloak. No man can choose his brothers, Jaime thought. Give me leave to pick my own men, and the Kingsguard will be great again. Put that boldly though, it sounded feeble. An empty boast from a man the realm called Kingslayer. A man with shit for honor. Jaime let it go. Before Samwell Tarly headed for Oldtown, Jon Snow switched Gilly's son with Dallas to protect the latter from being burnt by Melisandre. Sam only realized when Aemon spelled it out for him on their way to Oldtown. No, that's wrong. Jon would never, Sam said. Jon would never, Aemon replied. Lord Snow did. Sometimes there is no happy choice, Sam. Only one less grievous than the other. no happy choice, Sam thought. Of all the trials that he and Gilly suffered, what had it all been for? No happy choices and no happy endings. He wanted to scream. He wanted to howl and sob and shake and curl up in a little ball and whimper. He switched the babes, he told himself. He switched the babes to protect the little prince, to keep him away from Melisandre's fires, away from her red god. If she burns Gilly's boy, who will care? No one but Gilly. He was only Craster's whelp, an abomination born of incest, not the son of a king beyond the wall. What is the current state of Westeros leading up to the events of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms? Surprisingly, the realm is at peace and has been for some time. Daeron the Good Targaryen, one of the few noble and beloved Targaryen rulers, is king of Westeros, and despite having to endure the first of many Blackfire rebellions, is able to crush it and reign over an overall peaceful and prosperous period for Westeros. He was loved both by lords and small folk and provided stability to Westeros after the corruption endured in his father Aegon IV Targaryen's reign. He was also the one who officially brought Dorne into the folds as part of the Seven Kingdoms. Why does A Night of the Seven Kingdoms seem more laid back than Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon? From the trailer, we see a more light-hearted side of Westeros, with plenty of humor and playfulness. That's because the Dunk and Egg stories were written as folk tales rather than grand political epics. Instead of scheming nobles and endless wars, the focus is on two unlikely friends wandering across the Seven Kingdoms. While there are still dangers and moral dilemmas, it's a far cry from the tone of Westeros in Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, with more heart, humor, and hope. What major event last happened prior to the events of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms? It may surprise you to know this, but the realm was in a rare and relatively peaceful era under Daeron the Good Targaryen leading up to the story. The last major event happened around 14 years prior, when the first Blackfire Rebellion took place. Daemon Blackfire, the bastard-born half-brother of Daeron, rebelled against the crown, claiming to be the true heir of Westeros. After a number of battles, the Blackfires eventually lost, with Daemon dying at the hands of a group of longbowmen called the Raven's Teeth. The Raven's Teeth were notably sworn to Brendan Rivers, otherwise known as Bloodraven. Cersei Lannister was resentful to Margaery and Loras Tyrell for one other interesting reason, because they looked more like twins compared to her and Jaime. The Knight of Flowers was in white silk, with a belt of golden roses about his waist and a jade rose fastening his cloak. They could be twins, Cersei thought as she watched them. Sir Loras was a year older than his sister, but they had the same big brown eyes, the same thick brown hair falling in lazy ringlets to their shoulders, the same smooth, unblemished skin. A ripe crop of pimples would teach them some humility. Loras was taller and had a few wisps of soft brown fuzz on his face, and Margaery had a woman's shape, but elsewise they were more alike than she and Jaime. That annoyed her too. Jaime Lannister admits that everything Cersei did seemed to annoy him, including when she started acting like Robert Baratheon. Cersei was in her solar in Maegor's Holdfast with Tommen and Lord Merryweather's dark-haired Myrish wife. The three of them were laughing at Grand Maester Pycelle. "Did I miss some clever jape?" Jaime said as he shoved through the door. "Oh look," purred Lady Merryweather, "your brave brother has returned, your grace." Most of him. The queen was in her cups, Jaime realized. Of late, Cersei always seemed to have a flagon of wine to hand. She who had once scorned Robert Baratheon for his drinking. He misliked that, but these days, he seemed to mislike everything his sister did. Kevan Lannister confirmed to Jaime that he knew about him and Cersei, which led Jaime to wonder if Cersei would possibly get rid of him. "Your sister knows my terms. They have not changed. Tell her that. The next time you are in her bedchamber." Sir Kevan put his heels into his courser and galloped ahead, putting an abrupt end to their conversation. Jaime let him go, his missing sword hand twitching. He had hoped against hope that Cersei had somehow misunderstood, But plainly, that was wrong. He knows about the two of us, about Tommen and Marcella, and Cersei knows he knows. Sir Kevin was a Lannister of Castle Rock. He could not believe that she would ever do him harm. But I was wrong about Tyrion. Why not about Cersei? When sons were killing fathers, what was there to stop a niece from ordering an uncle slain? An inconvenient uncle who knows too much. Cersei felt that Varys was easily replaced by Qyburn as Master of Whisperers. Qyburn seemed to sense what she was thinking. The bells will stop at sunset, Your Grace. That will be a great relief. How can you know? Knowing is the nature of my service. Varys had us all believing he was irreplaceable. What fools we were. Once the Queen let it become known that Qyburn had taken the eunuch's place, the unusual vermin had wasted no time in making themselves known to him, to trade their whispers for a few coins. It was the silver all along, not the spider. Qyburn will serve us just as well. She was looking forward to the look on Pycelle's face when Qyburn took his seat. Jaime Lannister had no confidence in Cersei as ruler of the Seven Kingdoms following Joffrey's death. I govern the realm, Cersei said. Seven save us all, you do. His sister liked to think of herself as Lord Tywin with teats, but she was wrong. Their father had been as relentless and implacable as a glacier, where Cersei was all wildfire, especially when thwarted. She had been giddy as a maiden when she learned that Stannis had abandoned Dragonstone, certain that he had finally given up the fight and sailed away to exile. When word came down from the north that he had turned up again at the wall, her fury had been fearful to behold. She does not lack for wits, but she has no judgment and no patience. You need a strong hand to help you. A weak ruler needs a strong hand, as Aerys needed father. A strong ruler requires only a diligent server to carry out his orders. Unlike Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, there are no dragons in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. That's because they've been extinct for over 40 years after the last dragon had died under the rule of Aegon the Dragonsbane Targaryen. And so, we'll witness Targaryens ruling Westeros without the offensive or defensive threats of dragons, which may lead other houses to wonder why the Targaryens are still in charge. Not only that, we'll also be witnessing a story where both dragons and White Walkers are not in the picture at all, which should make for an interesting viewing dynamic of Westeros. Cersei Lannister was attracted to a Targaryen bastard named Aurane Waters. In reality, he was a Valyrian bastard, but because of their shared Valyrian lineage, they looked like Targaryens. Waters in particular reminded Cersei of Rhaegar Targaryen. The first time she had seen him, for half a heartbeat, she had almost thought Rhaegar Targaryen had returned from the ashes. It is his hair, she told herself. He is not half as comely as Rhaegar was. His face is too narrow, and he has that cleft in his chin. The Valyrians came from old Valyrian stock, however, and some had the same silvery hair as the Dragon Kings of old. Aurane Waters seemed as bored as Cersei by all this prattle about septons. Seen up close, his hair was more silvery than gold, and his eyes were grey-green where Prince Rhaegar's had been purple. Even so, the resemblance. She wondered if Waters would have shaved his beard for her. Though he was 10 years her junior, he wanted her. How is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms connected to Game of Thrones? Spoilers ahead. Dunk, the main character, is a hedge knight who is nearly 7 feet tall. Funnily enough, George R.R. Martin confirmed Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Dunks and that their exact relationship would be revealed in time. Aegon V Targaryen, or Egg, meanwhile, is Jon Snow's great-great-grandfather, while he is Daenerys Targaryen's great-grandfather. He is also the younger brother of Maester Aemon Targaryen. Cersei Lannister repeatedly mocked this stump on Jaime's arm by taking jabs at him both in and out of his presence. "Will the king be joining us?" asked Orton Merryweather. "My son is playing with his little queen. For the moment, his idea of kingship is stamping papers with the royal seal. His Grace is still too young to comprehend affairs of state, and our valiant Lord Commander. So Jaime is at his armors being fitted for a hand. I know we are all tired of that ugly stump, and I dare say he would find these proceedings as tiresome as Tommen." Moraine Waters chuckled at that. Good, Cersei thought. The more they laugh, the less he is a threat. Let them laugh. Do we have wine? Who is the Targaryen prince in the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms trailer? Although the spin-off is focused on Duncan Egg, we do see a prominent blonde-haired Targaryen in the trailer. That happens to be Aeron Targaryen, second son of Maekar Targaryen, and the grandson of the current king, Daeron Targaryen. He is 16 in the books and known to be cruel and vain. He also calls himself Bright Flame and dresses the part as well. We can expect him to play an antagonistic role in the spin-off, showing the darker and crueler side of the Targaryens, which we've become accustomed to. How Brienne of Tarth reacted in the books when she learned one of her leads in finding Sansa Stark was dead in the form of Lysa Tully. "If the Stark girl were here, I'd know it," Randyll Tarly said. "She's run back north, I'll wager, hoping to find refuge with one of her father's bannermen. She had best hope she chooses the right one." "She might have gone to the Vale instead," Brienne heard herself blurt out, "to her mother's side." Lord Randyll gave her a contemptuous look. "Lady Lysa is dead. Some singer pushed her off a mountain. Littlefinger holds the Eyrie now, though not for long. The Lords of the Vale are not the sort to bend their knees to some up-jumped jackanapes whose only skill is counting coppers." He handed her back her letter. "Go where you want and do as you will, but when you're don't look to me for justice. You will have earned it with your folly." Lysa Tully is dead? Brienne stood beneath the gallows, the precious parchment in her hand. The crowd had dispersed, and the crows had resumed their feast. Where is the bulk of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms taking place? The first season focuses on the Hedge Knight, and most of the story takes place in a small town called Ashford in the Reach. In fact, around 90% of the story, which features a medieval tournament, will take place at Ashford according to George R.R. Martin. Other than that, Ashford is north of the Dornish Marches and happens to be the site where Robert Baratheon would lose his only battle during his rebellion after being forced to retreat against Randyll Tarly during the Battle of Ashford in 282 AC. Cersei Lannister had no fear whatsoever about the Crown's massive debt to the Iron Bank of Braavos. Though large, the Crown incomes are not large enough to keep abreast of Robert's debts. Accordingly, I have decided to defer our repayment of the sums owed the Holy Faith and the Iron Bank of Braavos until the war's end. The new High Septon would doubtless wring his holy hands, and the Braavosi would speak and squawk at her. But what of it? The money saved will be used for the building of our new fleet. "Your Grace," Pycelle said in a quavering voice, "this will cause more trouble than you know, I fear. The Iron Bank remains on Braavos, far across the sea. They shall have their gold maester. A Lannister pays his debts." "The Braavosi have a saying too." Pycelle's jeweled chain clinks softly. "The Iron Bank will have its due, they say. The Iron Bank will have its due when I say they will. Until such time, the Iron Bank will wait respectfully." Cersei Lannister had no fear whatsoever about the Crown's massive debt to the Iron Bank of Braavos. Though large, the Crown incomes are not large enough to keep abreast of Robert's debts. Accordingly, I have decided to defer our repayment of the sums owed the Holy Faith and the Iron Bank of Braavos until the war's end. The new High Septon would doubtless wring his holy hands, and the Braavosi would speak and squawk at her. But what of it? The money saved will be used for the building of our new fleet. "Your Grace," Pycelle said in a quavering voice, "this will cause more trouble than you know, I fear. The Iron Bank remains on Braavos, far across the sea. They shall have their gold maester. A Lannister pays his debts." "The Braavosi have a saying too." Pycelle's jeweled chain clinks softly. "The Iron Bank will have its due, they say. The Iron Bank will have its due when I say they will. Until such time, the Iron Bank will wait respectfully." Which characters from Game of Thrones could we see in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? Given that the story takes place around 90 years before Game of Thrones and around 80 years after House of the Dragon, there isn't going to be much overlap as far as characters are concerned. However, there are a few we could end up seeing as their younger selves. Maester Aemon Targaryen is more than likely to appear, as he is the grandson of the current king, Daeron Targaryen, and the son of Maekar Targaryen. Brynden Rivers, otherwise known as Bloodraven, could also make an appearance, as he plays a political role. Lastly, we could perhaps see a young Rhaegar Targaryen in the latter half of the story, as he is born during an important event which takes place at the end of the novellas. Cersei Lannister has a female love interest in Tyanna of Mere, Orton Merryweather's wife. Cersei first came across her at her father Tywin's wake. It was Lady Merryweather who truly pleased her. "Your Grace," that one said, in her subtly Myrish tones, "I have sent word to my friends across the narrow sea, asking them to seize the imp at once should he show his ugly face in the free cities." "Do you have many friends across the water?" "In Mere, many. In Lys as well, and Tyrosh. Men of power." Cersei could well believe it. The Myrish woman was too beautiful by half, long-legged and full-breasted, with smooth olive skin, ripe lips, huge dark eyes, and thick black hair that always looked as if she'd just come from bed. She even smells of sin, like some exotic lotus. "Lord Merryweather and I wish only to serve your grace and the little king," the woman purred. "This one is ambitious, and her lord is proud but poor. We must speak again, my lady. Should Daemon Blackfyre have been king of Westeros?" Daemon was the legitimized bastard son of Aegon IV Targaryen, but interestingly, his mother was also a Targaryen, Princess Daena Targaryen, wife to Baelor the Blessed. And so, Daemon was not only a legitimized bastard, he also looked completely like a Targaryen, with some saying he looked like Aegon the Conqueror, especially compared to the lawful heir Daeron, who had more Dornish features thanks to his mother. Daemon was also gifted the Valyrian steelsword Blackfyre, once held by Aegon the Conqueror by his father, which was basically a decree by Aegon IV that he should be next to rule. He was skilled in battle, tall, brave, and charismatic, and also had the support of half of Westeros, with many houses resenting Dorne being brought into the fold and their growing presence at court. While Daemon resented the status of being a bastard, he was initially loyal to Daeron and had to be pushed to start his rebellion by other lords. There's a moment where Cersei Lannister realized just how invaluable Lord Varys was as Master of Whisperers. "Balon Greyjoy is dead, I had heard," said Sir Harys Swift. "Do we know who rules the Isles now? Did Lord Balon have a son?" "Leo," coughed Lord Giles. "Theo?" "Theon Greyjoy was raised at Winterfell, a ward of Eddard Stark," Qyburn said. "He is not like to be a friend of ours." "I had heard he was slain," said Merryweather. "Was there only one son?" Sir Harys Swift tugged upon his chin beard. "Brothers. There were brothers, were there not?" Varys would have known, Cersei thought with irritation. "I do not propose to climb in bed with that sorry pack of squids. Their turn will come once we have dealt with Stannis. What we require is our own fleet." Why were the Blackfyre rebellions important? The Blackfyre rebellions were century-long wars that divided not only the Targaryens, but Westeros, plunging it into political turmoil at a time when there was no dragons or White Walkers. It all started when Daemon Blackfyre, legitimized bastard of Aegon IV, rose against half-brother and lawful heir King Daeron II. While that rebellion failed and Daemon ended up killed, his descendants continued to press their claim over the years, sparking one rebellion after another for nearly 100 years. These rebellions also notably gave rise to figures like Bloodraven and the Golden Company, who we later see in Game of Thrones. In the end, the Blackfyre rebellions showed that even without dragons or the threat of White Walkers, Westeros could still destroy itself. Cersei Lannister and her new small council were all on the same page about absolving themselves from the Red Wedding. "My lords may not know," said Qyburn, "but in the wine sinks and pot shops of this city, there are those who suggest that the crown might have been somewhat complicit in Lord Woldar's crime." The other councillors stared at him uncertainly. "Do you refer to the Red Wedding?" asked Arain Waters. "Crime," said Sir Harris. Pycelle cleared his throat noisily. Lord Gillis coughed. "These sparrows are especially outspoken," warned Qyburn. "The Red Wedding was an affront to all the laws of gods and men, they say, and those who had a hand in it are damned." Cersei was not slow to take his meaning. "Lord Walder must soon face the father's judgment. He is very old. Let the sparrows spit upon his memory. It has naught to do with us." "No," said Sir Harris. "No," said Lord Merryweather. "No one could think so," said Pycelle. Bloodraven, Bran's guide in Game of Thrones, is alive in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. But who exactly is Bloodraven? His real name is Brynden Rivers, and he was born in King's Landing as the bastard son of King Aegon IV and his sixth mistress, Lady Melissa Blackwood. Like Aegon IV's other bastards, he was legitimized, but remained loyal to the Targaryens over the Blackfyres during the rebellions. He would also serve as Hand of the King to two separate kings, as well as Master of Whisperers. He was later sent to the Wall, where he rose to Lord Commander before disappearing while ranging. While there's no confirmation, he is very likely to appear at some point in the story, perhaps in the later seasons. Cersei Lannister hinted at Walder Freyne being sacrificed to make amends for the Red Wedding. "A little spittle on Lord Walder's tomb is not like to disturb the grave worms," Qyburn said, "but it would also be useful if someone were to be punished for the Red Wedding. A few Frey's heads would do much to mollify the North." "Lord Walder will never sacrifice his own," said Pycelle. "No," mused Cersei, "but his heirs may be less squeamish. Lord Walder will soon do us the courtesy of dying, we can hope. What better way for the new Lord of the Crossing to rid himself of inconvenient half-brothers, disagreeable cousins, and scheming sisters than by naming them the culprits?" The actor who plays Egg in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Dexter Sol Ansell, was in The Hunger Games. The 11-year-old British child actor played the role of a young Cornelia Snow in the 2023 film The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Not only that, he is also set to star in an upcoming drama film called 500 Miles, where he will notably feature alongside Maisie Williams, most known of course for playing Arya Stark in A Game of Thrones. What Cersei Lannister and her small council thought of Stannis Baratheon trying to align with the Wildlings. If Lord Janos can be believed, he is trying to make common cause with the Wildlings, warned Grand Maester Pycelle. "Savages in skins," declared Lord Merryweather. "Lord Stannis must be so desperate indeed to seek such allies." "Desperate and foolish," the Queen agreed. "The Northmen hate the Wildlings. Roose Bolton should have no trouble winning them to our cause. A few have already joined up with his bastard son to help him clear the wretched Ironmen from Moat Caitlin and clear the way for Lord Bolton to return. Umber, Risewell, I forgot the other names. Even White Harbour is on the point of joining us. Its lord has agreed to marry both his granddaughters to our friends of Frey and open his ports to our ships. There'll be a prominent Baratheon in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Sir Lionel Baratheon will play a role in the spin-off series as an ancestor of Robert, Stannis, and Renly. He is almost as tall as Dunk at nearly 7 feet and was known as a swaggering giant of a man. He was also known as the Laughing Storm, not only because he was more of a fun character, but because he had the habit of laughing loudly at his opponents during battle. There are glimpses of him in the trailer where he's wearing an antlered helm and looks very much like Renly Baratheon. George R.R. Martin was notably very pleased with the actor and said he was a Baratheon through and through. Cersei Lannister was glad that Renly Baratheon was killed, with Stannis being her main foe rather than the other way around. "Will not Lord Stannis seek to win the allegiance of White Harbor as well?" asked Grand Maester Pycelle. "Oh, he has tried. Lord Manderley has sent his letters to us and replied with evasions. Stannis demands White Harbor's swords and silver, for which he offers, well, nothing. One day, she must light a candle to the stranger for carrying Renly off and leaving Stannis. If it had been the other way around, her life would be that much harder." Just this morning, there was another bird. Stannis has sent his onion smuggler to treat with White Harbor on his behalf. Manderley has clapped the wretched inside a cell. He asks us what we should do with him. Will there be scenes in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms? Given that the spin-off is focused on the Dunk and Egg novellas, which are more character-driven with heart and humor and less political intrigue, it seems highly unlikely. However, it was revealed last year that Nina Jamil has joined the show as an intimacy coordinator, which can only imply that there are some potential intimate scenes in Season 1. So, while we could see some intimate action, one shouldn't expect it at the same level as Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. What Cersei Lannister's plans for Sansa Stark were in the books, given that she was a prime suspect for Joffrey's death along with Tyrion. "Your Grace has forgotten the Lady Sansa," said Pycelle. The Queen bristled. "I most certainly have not forgotten that little she-wolf." She refused to say the girl's name. "I ought to have shown her to the Black Cells as the daughter of a traitor, but instead, I made her part of my own household. She shared my hearth and hall, played with my own children. I fed her, dressed her, tried to make her a little less ignorant about the world. And how did she repay me for my kindness? She helped murder my son. When we find the imp, we will find the Lady Sansa too. She is not dead, but before I am done with her, I promise you, she will be singing to the stranger, begging for his kiss." An awkward silence followed. Have they all swallowed their tongues? Cersei thought with irritation. It was enough to make her wonder why she bothered with a council. George R.R. Martin actually plans to write 12 Dunk and Egg novellas, but so far only 3 are finished. The stories are meant to span 50 years of the characters' lives with big time jumps between installments. Martin's already drafted parts of the next 2, but paused to focus on the Winds of Winter. Since the upcoming HBO series is adapting 1 novella per season, things are fine for now. The shortage wouldn't hit until around Season 3. But there's more. The World of Ice and Fire revealed that Martin already outlined most of the future stories in detail. So detailed that his co-authors actually held some back to avoid spoilers. Later novellas will bridge the gap to Game of Thrones, featuring younger versions of Tywin, Olenna, Barristan Selmy, and even Aerys II. What Cersei Lannister thought of Jon Snow being the Night's Watch Lord Commander in the books. Another problem has arisen on the Wall, however. The brothers of the Night's Watch have taken leave of their wits and chosen Ned Stark's bastard son to be their Lord Commander. "Snow, the boy is called," Pycelle said, unhelpfully. "I glimpsed him once at Winterfell," the Queen said. "Though the Starks did their best to hide him, he looks very much like his father." Her husband's byblows had his look as well, though at least Robert had the grace to keep them out of sight. Once, after that sorry business with the cat, he had made some noises about bringing some base-born daughter of his to court. "Do as you please," she told him, "but you may find that the city is not a healthy place for a growing girl." The bruise those words had won her had been hard to hide from Jaime, but they heard no more about the bastard girl. Catelyn Tully was a mouse, or she would have smothered this Jon Snow in his cradle. Instead, she's left the filthy task to me. George R.R. Martin first discussed a Dunk and Egg adaptation with HBO all the way back in 2013. At that time, no one knew if it would be a movie or a TV series. Then in 2016, Martin officially pitched Dunk and Egg to HBO, but the network turned it down in favor of The Dance of the Dragons, which eventually became House of the Dragon. Funny enough, Ryan Condal, the current House of the Dragon showrunner, actually tried to make Dunk and Egg happen years earlier. He approached Martin about it in 2016, but Martin rejected the idea because he wanted to finish writing the novellas first. Condell later returned in 2019 and was chosen to lead House of the Dragon. By 2021, Martin admitted that Dunk and Egg was always one of his top 2 prequel ideas, the other being The Dance of the Dragons. So, in a way, both of his favorites are now finally being made. Even in A Feast for Crows, Cersei Lannister still laughed off the threat of Daenerys Targaryen's dragons in the east. Instead, she remained focused on hunting down her brother Tyrion. "One last thing, Your Grace," said Oraine Waters in an apologetic tone. "I hesitate to take up the council's time with trifles, but there has been some queer talk heard along the docks of late. Sailors from the east, they speak of dragons, and manticores no doubt, and bearded snakes," Cersei chuckled. "Come back to me when you hear talk of dwarfs, my lord." She stood to signal that the meeting was at an end. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms almost stalled right after being greenlit. Just 2 weeks after HBO officially approved the series, the 2023 Writers Guild of America strike shut everything down. George R.R. Martin confirmed on his blog that out of the 6 planned episodes, scripts for 5 weren't even finished yet. He said, "The writer's room on A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, has closed for the duration. Ira Parker and his incredible staff of young talents are on the picket lines." The strike lasted 5 months, finally ending in late September 2023. By October 20th, production started moving again, beginning with casting. UK casting director Lucy Bevan, known for the Batman and Barbie, began searching for 2 leads that fans immediately recognized as Duncan the Tall and his Squire Egg. Jaime Lannister tried to confront Lancel about whether he was betting Cersei. His cousin Lancel was riding 10 yards behind them, with his hollow eyes and dry white hair. He looked older than Lord Jast. Jaime could feel his phantom fingers itching at the sight of him. Effing Lancel and Osmond Kettleback, and Moonboy for all I know. He had tried to speak with Lancel more times than he could count, but never found him alone. If his father was not with him, some Septon was. He may be Kevin's son, but he has milk in his veins. Tyrion was lying to me. His words were meant to wound. Cersei Lannister first gets the idea of plotting Margaery Tyrell's downfall when she speaks with her female love interest, Taena, otherwise known as Lady Merryweather. Sir Boris Blount escorted the Queen back to her apartments where she found Lady Merryweather chuckling with Jocelyn and Dorcas. "What is it you all find so amusing?" "The Redwyne twins," said Taena. "Both of them have fallen in love with Lady Margaery. They used to fight over which would be the next Lord of the Arbor. Now both of them want to join the Kingsguard, just to be near the little Queen. The Redwynes have always had more freckles than wits." It was a useful thing to know though. If horror or slobber were to be found abed with Margaery, Cersei wondered if the little Queen liked freckles. Cersei Lannister's plan to use Osney Kettleback was effectively killing 2 birds in Margaery Tyrell and Jon Snow with 1 stone. "But where am I going to be after we, Osney asked. "Do the deed?" Cersei gave him a barbed smile. "Lying with a queen is treason. Tommen would have no choice but to send you to the wall." "The wall?" "A black cloak would do well with your eyes, and that black hair of yours. No one returns from the wall. You will. All you need to do is kill a boy." "What boy?" "A bastard boy in league with Stannis. He's young and green, and you'll have 100 men." "I've killed more boys than I can count," he insisted. "Once this boy is dead, I'd get my pardon from the king?" "That and a lordship. A queen must have a consort, one who knows no fear." Theon's uncle Victarion and Asha Greyjoy clashed over who should rule over the Iron Islands. "You have not come to make a claim, I hope." Asha teased him with a smile. "And if I have?" "There are men who remember when you were a little girl, swimming naked in the sea and playing with your doll." "I played with axes too." "You did," he had to grant. "But a woman wants a husband, not a crown. When I am king, I'll give you one." "My uncle is so good to me. Shall I find a pretty wife for you when I am queen?" "I have no luck with wives. How long have you been here?" "Long enough to see that Uncle Damphia has woken more than he intended." The drum means to make a claim, and Tali the Thrice-Drowned was heard to say that Marin Volmark is the true heir of the Black Line. The king must be a kraken. The Crow's Eye is a kraken. The elder brother comes before the younger. Asha leaned close. But I am the child of King Balon's body, so I come before you both. What did Cersei Lannister think of her plan to get rid of Margaery Tyrell and Jon Snow in the books? I was made for this, she told herself. It was the sheer elegance of it that pleased her most. Even Mace Tyrell would not dare defend his darling daughter if she was caught in the act with the likes of Osney Kettleblack. And neither Stannis Baratheon nor Jon Snow would have cause to wonder why Osney was being sent to the wall. She would see to it that Sir Osmond was the one to discover his brother with the Little Queen. That way, the loyalty of the other two Kettleblacks need not be impunged. If father could only see me now, he would not be so quick to speak of marrying me off again. A pity he's so dead. Him and Robert, Jon Arryn, Ned Stark, Renly Baratheon, all dead. Only Tyrion remains, and not for long. How did Euron Greyjoy announce himself in the Iron Islands before the Kingsmoot in the books? Crow's Eye, Victarion said. King Crow's Eye, brother, Euron smiled. We shall have no king but from the Kingsmoot, the Damphier stood. No godless man may sit the Seastone chair. Euron glanced about the tent. As it happens, I have often sat upon the Seastone chair of late. It raises no objections. His smiling eye was glittering. Who knows more of gods than I? Horse gods and fire gods, gods made of gold with gemstone eyes, gods carved of cedar wood, gods chiseled into mountains, gods of empty air. I know them all. I have seen their peoples garland them with flowers, and shed the blood of goats and bulls and children in their names, and I have heard the prayers in 500 tongues. Cure my withered leg, make the maiden love me, grant me a healthy son, save me, succor me, make me wealthy, protect me from mine enemies. While searching for Sansa Stark, Brienne of Tarth meets Randall Tarly and is immediately interrogated as to whether she killed Renly Baratheon. My lady, to what do we owe this honor? I have been sent to look for... She hesitated. How will you find him if you do not know his name? Did you slay Lord Renly? No. Tarly weighed the word. He is judging me, as he judged those others. No, he said at last. You only let him die. He had died in her arms, his life's blood drenching her. Brienne flinched. It was sorcery. You never. His voice became a whip. You never should have donned mail, nor buckled on a sword. You never should have left your father's hall. This is a war, not a harvest bowl. By all the gods, I ought to ship you back to Tarth. Asha Greyjoy offered to help crown Victarion if she could be his hand. You cannot hope to rule. You are a woman. Is that why I always lose the pissing contests? Asha laughed. Nuncle, it grieves me to say so, but you are right. I am of a mind to shout my nuncle's name. Which uncle? He demanded. You have 3. 4. Nuncle, hear me. I will place the driftwood crown upon your brow myself, if you will agree to share the rule. Share the rule? How could that be? The woman was not making sense. Does she want to be my queen? Victarion found himself looking at Asha in a way he had never looked at her before. He could feel his manhood beginning to stiffen. She is Balon's daughter, he reminded himself. He remembered her as a little girl, throwing axes at a door. He crossed his arms against his chest. The Seastone chair seats but one. Then let my nuncle sit, Asha said. I will stand behind you, to guard your back and whisper in your ear. No king can rule alone, even when the dragon sat the Iron Throne. How Pycelle reacted to Qyburn being introduced as Master of Whisperers in the Small Council in the books. You all know Lord Qyburn, I am sure, Cersei said. Grand Maester Pycelle did not disappoint her. Lord Qyburn? He managed, purpling. Your Grace, a maester swears no sacred vows, to hold no lands or lordships. Your citadel took away his chain, Cersei reminded him. If he is not a maester, he cannot be held to a maester's vows. We called the eunuch lord as well, you may recall. Pycelle sputtered, "This man he is unfit." "Do not presume to speak to me of fitness, not after the stinking mockery you made of my lord father's corpse. Your grace cannot think. The Silent Sisters removed Lord Tywin's bowels and organs, drained his blood. Every care was taken. His body was stuffed with salts and fragrant herbs. Oh, spare me the disgusting details. I smelled the results of your care. Lord Qyburn's healing arts saved my brother's life, and I do not doubt that he will serve the king." How did Arianne Martell react to Tywin Lannister's death in the books? It came as a pleasant surprise, given that Arianne was looking to crown Myrcella Baratheon as the new Queen of Westeros. "There are other tidings you should hear. Tywin Lannister is dead," Aerys Oakard said. That was a shock. Dead? Murdered by the imp. The Queen has assumed the regency. Has she? A woman on the Iron Throne. Arianne thought about that for a moment and decided it was all too good. If the lords of the Seven Kingdoms grew accustomed to Queen Cersei's rule, it would be that much easier for them to bend their knee to Queen Myrcella. And Lord Tywin had been a dangerous foe. Without him, Dorne's enemies would be much weaker. Lannisters are always killing Lannisters. How sweet. Why did Euron Greyjoy go into exile prior to the events of the show? "They are not telling tales of your strength, nor of my famous beauty," Asha told Victarion. "They talk only of the Crow's Eye, the far places he has seen, the women he has eyed, and the men he's killed. The cities he has sacked, the way he burnt Lord Tywin's fleet at Lannisport." "I burnt the Lion's fleet," Victarion insisted. "With mine own hands, I flung the first torch onto his flagship." The Crow's Eye hatched the scheme. Asha put her hand upon his arm. "And killed your wife as well, did he not?" Balon had commanded them not to speak of it. But Balon was dead. "He put a baby in her belly and made me do the killing. I would have killed him too, but Balon would have no kinslaying in his hall. He sent Euron into exile, never to return." So long as Balon lived. Lord Walder Frey makes an appearance in the Dunk and Egg novellas. He was only a toddler, but he was present during the wedding of his elder sister to Lord Ambrose Butterwell at White Walls. Even at that young age, Sir Duncan the Tall, who attended the wedding, thought of Walder as nothing more than an extremely annoying child and even pondered throwing him down a well. Perhaps we could see a young Walder Frey at some point in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. At one point, Sansa Stark was in love with Waymar Royce, the Night's Watch Ranger who shows up in the first episode of Game of Thrones. Sansa revealed this as Elaine as Littlefinger was preparing for the arrival of Jon Royce at the Vale. 8, you said. Bronze Jon is one of them? The only one who matters, Littlefinger replied. Bronze Jon knows me, she reminded him. He was a guest at Winterfell when his son rode north to take the Black. She had fallen wildly in love with Sir Waymar, she remembered dimly. But that was a lifetime ago, when she was a stupid little girl. And that was not the only time Lord Royce saw. He saw Sansa Stark again at King's Landing during the Hands Tourney. Littlefinger shows a rare instance of anger as well as courage when threatening the Lords of the Vale. "I would be well within my rights to call my guards and have you all arrested." Hunter lurched to his feet so wildly that he almost knocked the flagon out of Elaine's hands. "You gave us safe conduct." "Yes, be grateful that I have more honor than some." Peter sounded as angry as she had ever heard him. "I have read your declaration and heard your demands. Now hear mine. Remove your armies from this mountain. Go home and leave my son in peace. Misrule there has been, I will not deny it, but that was Lysa's work, not mine. Grant me but a year, and with Lord Nestor's help, I promise that none of you shall have any cause for grievance." "So you say," said Belmore, "yet how shall we trust you?" "You dare call me untrustworthy? It was not me who bared steel at a parley. You write of defending Lord Robert even as you deny him food. That must end. I am no warrior." How did Asha confront Euron Greyjoy about her father's death in the books? The crow's eye turned his smiling eye upon Victarion. "Lord Captain, have you no greeting for a brother long away? Nor you, Asha, how fares your lady mother?" "Poorly," Asha said. "Some man made her a widow." Euron shrugged. "I had heard the storm god swept Balon to his death. Who is this man who slew him? Tell me his name, niece, so I might revenge myself on him." Asha got to her feet. "You know his name as well as I. 3 years you were gone from us, and yet silence returns within a day of my lord father's death." "Do you accuse me?" Euron asked mildly. "Should I?" The sharpness in Asha's voice made Victarion frown. It was dangerous to speak so to the crow's eye, even when his smiling eye was shining with amusement. "Do I command the winds?" the crow's eye asked his pets. "No, your grace," said Awkward of Orkmont. "No man commands the winds," said German Botley. "Would that you did," the red oarsman said. "You would sail wherever you liked and never be calmed." Cersei Lannister was hostile towards Tommen because of Margaery Tyrell. The king was pouting. "I want to sit on the Iron Throne," he told her. "You always let Joff sit up there." Joffrey was 12. "But I'm the king. The throne belongs to me." "Who told you that?" "No one told me." "No one. Is that what you call your lady wife?" The queen could smell Margaery Tyrell all over this rebellion. "If you lie to me, I will have no choice but to send for Pate and have him beaten till he bleeds." Pate was Tommen's whipping boy, as he had been Joffrey's. "Is that what you want?" "No," the king muttered sullenly. "Who told you?" He shuffled his feet. "Lady Margaery." He knew better than to call her queen in his mother's hearing. "That is better, Tommen. I have grave matters to decide, matters that you are too young to understand. I do not need a silly little boy fidgeting on the throne behind me and distracting me with childish questions." George R.R. Martin may have provided a subtle hint that Daenerys Targaryen and Cersei Lannister were not fit to sit on the Iron Throne. As the Iron Throne was forged out of 1,000 swords, Aegon the Conqueror made it uncomfortable on purpose, as the job was never meant to be a comfortable one. It was also said that any king who cut himself was unfit to rule. And so, when Dany was in Meereen, she complained of how uncomfortable sitting on her own throne was. "Sir Barristan," she called, "I know what quality a king needs most." "Courage, your grace?" "Cheeks like iron," she teased. "All I do is sit." Barristan later put cushions on the throne. She was only jesting, but would sit on the cushions nonetheless. Meanwhile, in Westeros, Cersei also made use of cushions as Queen Regent. Behind her loomed the Iron Throne, its barbs and blades throwing twisted shadows across the floor. Only the king or his hand could sit upon the throne itself. Cersei sat by its foot. There's a tense moment when Margaery Tyrell subtly calls out Cersei Lannister, who accidentally was thinking about Jaime, not Robert Baratheon, when talking about Tommen's father. "Mother, did you see me?" Tommen burbled happily. "I broke my lance on the shield, and the bag never hit me." "I was watching from across the yard. You did very well, Tommen. I would expect no less of you. Jousting is in your blood. One day you shall rule the lists as your father did. No man will stand before him." Margaery Tyrell gave the queen a coy smile. "But I never knew that King Robert was so accomplished at the joust. Pray tell us, your grace, what tourneys did he win? What great knights did he unseat? I know the king should like to hear about his father's victories." A flush crept up Cersei's neck. The girl had caught her out. Robert Baratheon had been an indifferent jouster, in truth. During tourneys, he had much preferred the melee, where he could beat men bloody with blunted axe or hammer. It had been Jaime she had been thinking of when she spoke. While Cersei Lannister planned on giving her throne to Tommen until he came of age, her real motive, beyond waiting for Tommen to come of age, was the fact that she herself had wanted so long for a chance to finally rule. The rule was hers. Cersei did not mean to give it up until Tommen came of age. "I waited. So can he. I waited half my life." She had played the dutiful daughter, the blushing bride, the pliant wife. She had suffered Robert's drunken groping, Jaime's jealousy, Renly's mockery, Varys with his titters, Stannis endlessly grinding his teeth. She had contended with Jon Arryn, Ned Stark, and her vile, treacherous, murderous dwarf brother, all the while promising herself that one day it would be her turn. If Margaery Tyrell thinks to cheat me of my hour in the sun, she had bloody well think again. What just happened with the new A Feast for Crows illustrated edition. Earlier this month, fans finally got their hands on the re-release, complete with 24 brand new illustrations by Jeffrey R. MacDonald. But almost immediately, the fandom began to notice something off. Every single piece of artwork showed the classic signs of AI generation. We're talking mismatched limbs, strange facial structures, and even a full crucifix hanging on a wall, a religion that doesn't even exist anywhere in A Song of Ice and Fire. And that was only the beginning. Characters looked incorrect, details didn't match the books, and fans became convinced these images weren't hand-drawn at all. Now, we finally gotten something close to an official response. On George R.R. Martin's blog, longtime collaborator Raya Golden denied that AI was used and said they would never knowingly perform AI art, insisting they believe the artist created everything himself. The controversy over the A Feast for Crows illustrated edition just got even bigger. After fans accused the book's artwork of being AI generated, George R.R. Martin's team has now doubled down on their position. On Martin's blog, longtime collaborator Raya Golden released a firm statement addressing the accusations directly. She writes, "Recently, there have been accusations floating around that the illustrated edition of A Feast for Crows was produced using AI generative art. To our knowledge, there was no such programming used." Golden explains that while the artist Jeffrey R. MacDonald works digitally, he has expressed unequivocally that no AI was used, and we believe him. She then adds a very clear line: "We do not, never have, and will not willingly work with AI generative artists in any way, shape, or form." But this response hasn't done much to calm the fandom. Many fans still believe the images are AI generated, pointing to odd mistakes, strange autonomy. Fans have found even more strange details in the new A Feast for Crows illustrated edition, and I want to know what you think. People are pointing out some really bizarre inaccuracies. Why does Tywin Lannister have a crown on his head at his funeral, even though he was never king? Why is almost everyone dressed in blue, including Tommen, who would be wearing red, and Margaery, who would be wearing green on their wedding day? Why is Robb Stark's crown completely wrong? Why is Victarion Greyjoy suddenly holding two swords instead of his iconic axe? And why does Areo Hotar look nothing like his book counterpart? With all these mistakes piled on top of the AI-like oddities, what do you believe? Do you think the artist really created these by hand? Or does it look like something else? Cersei Lannister shows one small sign of humanity when she feels uneasy about Qyburn asking if he can take a woman for his experiments. "There are 4. Perhaps your grace might allow me 2 of them for my own purposes. A woman would be especially—" "I gave you Senelle," the queen said sharply. "Alas, the poor girl is quite exhausted." Cersei did not like to think about that. The girl had come with her unsuspecting, thinking she was along to serve and pour. Even when Qyburn clapped the chain around her wrist, she had not seemed to understand. The memory still made the queen queasy. The cells were bitter cold, even the torches shivered, and that foul thing screaming in the darkness. "Yes, you may take a woman, 2, if it please you." There's a funny and rare moment when Cersei and Jaime Lannister are with Tommen, and Jaime is of no help to Cersei whatsoever. "I don't want a proper master-at-arms, I want Sir Loras." "You make too much of that boy. Your little wife has filled your head with foolish notions of his prowess." "I know, but Osmond Kettleback is thrice the knight that Loras is." Jaime laughed. "Not the Osmond Kettleback I know." She could have throttled him. "I am sending for a Dornishman to train you," she said. "The Dornish are the finest jousters in the realm." "They are not," said Tommen. "Anyway, I don't want any stupid Dornishman. I want Sir Loras. I command it." Jaime laughed. He is of no help at all. Does he find this amusing? Must I send for Pate? You do not command me. I am your mother. Yes, but I am the king. Marjorie says that everyone has to do what the king says. I want my white courser saddled on the morrow so Sir Loras can teach me how to joust. I want a kitten too, and I don't want to eat beets. He crossed his arm. Jaime was still laughing. Cersei Lannister and Loras Tyrell take japes at each other compared to the show, as Cersei was actually meant to wed Loras's crippled brother Willis instead. Whose notion was that, pray? Cersei asked. My sister's, Loras admitted. Sir Talad, Sir Dormant, and Sir Potiphar were riding at the quintain, and the Queen suggested that His Grace might like to have a turn. He calls her that to irk me. And your part? I helped His Grace to don his armor and showed him how to couch his lance, he answered. The horse was much too large for him. What if he had fallen off? What if the sandbag had smashed his head in? Bruises and bloody lips are all part of being a knight. I begin to understand why your brother is a cripple. That wiped the smile off his pretty face. She was pleased to see. Perhaps my brother failed to explain your duties to you, sir. You are here to protect my son from his enemies. Training him for knighthood is the province of the Master-at-Arms. Cersei Lannister comes to realize that despite having dreams of ruling King's Landing along with Jaime, she now resents him and wants him far away. She was tired of Jaime balking her. No one ever balked her Lord Father. When Tywin Lannister spoke, men obeyed. When Cersei spoke, they felt free to counsel her, to contradict her, even refuse her. It is all because I am a woman, because I cannot fight them with a sword. They gave Robert more respect than they give me, and Robert was a witless sot. She would not suffer it, especially not from Jaime. I need to rid myself of him, and soon. Once upon a time, she had dreamt that the two of them might rule the Seven Kingdoms side by side, but Jaime had become more of a hindrance than a help. A dying Maester Aemon Targaryen talks to Samwell Tarly about his king father while they were at Braavos in A Feast for Dragons. Both Aemon and his father will likely feature in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so be aware for spoilers. I will be with my brothers soon. Some were bound to me by vows and some by blood, but they were all my brothers and my father. He never thought the throne would pass to him, and yet it did. He used to say that this was his punishment for the blow that slew his brother. I pray he found the peace in death that he never knew in life. The Septons sing of sweet surcease, of laying down our burdens and voyaging to a far sweet land where we may laugh and love and feast until the end of days. But what if there is no land of light and honey, only cold and dark and pain beyond the wall called death? He is afraid, Sam realized. You are not dying, you're ill, that's all. It will pass. Not this time, Sam. Cersei Lannister thinks about how Rhaegar Targaryen's daughter, Rhaenys, who was murdered by Sir Amory Lodge in the sack of King's Landing, could have been her own daughter if not for the Mad King. Marjorie's clumsy attempts at seduction were so obvious as to be laughable. Tommen is too young for kisses, so she gives him kittens. Cersei rather wished they were not black though. Black cats brought ill luck, as Rhaegar's little girl had discovered in this very castle. She would have been my daughter, if the Mad King had not played his cruel jape on father. It had to have been the madness that led Aerys to refuse Lord Tywin's daughter and take his son instead, whilst marrying his own son to a feeble Dornish princess with black eyes and a flat chest. Cersei Lannister tries to get Bronn killed at the hands of his own father-in-law Balman Bridge. As I feared, Bronn is gathering swords for the dwarf. May the Seven save my little son. The imp will kill him as he killed his brother, she sobbed. My friends, I put my honor in your hands, but what is a queen's honor against a mother's fears? Sir Balman assured her. Your words shall never leave this room. Cersei reached across the table and gave his hand a squeeze. I would sleep more easily of night if I were to hear that Sir Bronn had suffered a mishap, whilst hunting perhaps. Sir Balman considered a moment. A mortal mishap? No, I desire you to break his little toe. She had to bite her lip. My enemies are everywhere, and my friends are fools. I beg you, sir, she whispered, do not make me say it. I understand, Sir Bolman raised a finger. We get a rare moment of Tywin Lannister being a warm father when Cersei recalls how he promised she would wed Rhaegar Targaryen. We also get a House of the Dragon reference. When she was just a little girl, her father had promised her that she would marry Rhaegar. She could not have been more than 6 or 7. Never speak of it, child, he had told her, smiling his secret smile that only Cersei ever sold. Not until His Grace agrees to the betrothal. It must remain our secret for now. And so it had, though once she had drawn a picture of herself flying behind Rhaegar on a dragon, her arms wrapped tight about his chest. When Jaime had discovered it, she told him it was Queen Alysanne and King Jaehaerys. Cersei Lannister wanted Loras Tyrell far away from Tommen, even when it came to training due to his relationship with Renly Baratheon. The Red Keep has had no Master-at-Arms since Aeron Santagir was slain, so Loras said, with a hint of reproach in his voice. His Grace is almost 9 and eager to learn. At his age, he should be a squire. Someone has to teach him. Someone will, but it will not be you. Pray, who do you squire for, sir? She asked sweetly. Lord Renly, was it not? I had that honor. Yes, I thought as much. Cersei had seen how tight the bonds grew between squires and the knights they served. She did not want Tommen growing close to Loras Tyrell. The Knight of Flowers was no sort of man for any boy to emulate. I have been remiss. With a realm to rule, a war to fight, and a father to mourn. Somehow I overlooked the crucial matter of naming a new Master-at-Arms. I shall rectify that error at once. So Loras pushed back a brown curl that had fallen across his forehead. Cersei Lannister fantasized about Rhaegar Targaryen so much that even Jaime paled in comparison to him. When she had been presented to him, Cersei had almost drowned in the depths of his sad purple eyes. He has been wounded, she recalled thinking, but I will mend his hurt when we are wed. Next to Rhaegar, even her beautiful Jaime had seemed no more than a callow boy. The prince is going to be my husband, she had thought, giddy with excitement. And when the old king dies, I'll be the queen. Her aunt had confided the truth to her before the tourney. You must be especially beautiful, Lady Jenna told her, fussing with her dress. For at the final feast it shall be announced that you and Prince Rhaegar are betrothed. Out of the many reasons Cersei Lannister resented Robert Baratheon, one major reason was before they even got married. Your father proposed the match, Lady Jenna told her, but Aerys refused to hear of it. You are my most able servant, Tywin, the king said, but a man does not marry his heir to his servant's daughter. Dry those tears, little one. Have you ever seen a lion weep? Your father will find another man for you, a better man than Rhaegar. Her aunt had lied though, and her father had failed her, just as Jaime was failing her now. Father found no better man. Instead, he gave me Robert, and Maggie's curse bloomed like some poisonous flower. If she had only married Rhaegar as the gods intended, he would never have looked twice at the wolf girl. Rhaegar would be our king today, and I would be his queen, the mother of his sons. She had never forgiven Robert for killing him. Jaime Lannister remained paranoid about his defeat to Robb Stark, and so, when Cersei sent him to Riverrun, he took precautions to make sure he wouldn't suffer a similar defeat. This near to King's Landing, the King's Road was as safe as any road could be in such times. Yet, Jaime sent Marbrand and his outriders ahead to scout. Robb Stark took me unawares in the Whispering Wood, he said. That will never happen again. You have my word on it. Marbrand seemed visibly relieved to be a horse again, wearing the smoke-grey cloak of his own house instead of the gold wool of the City Watch. If any foe should come within a dozen leagues, you will know of them beforehand. Maester Aemon Targaryen had one last request for Samwell Tarly before he passed away, to learn more about dragons. The last dragon died before you were born, said Sam. How could you remember them? I see them in my dreams, Sam. I see a red star bleeding in the sky. I still remember red. I see their shadows on the snow, hear the crack of leathern wings, feel their hot breath. My brothers dreamed of dragons too, and the dreams killed them. Every one. Sam, we tremble on the cusp of half-remembered prophecies, of wonders and terrors that no man now living could hope to comprehend. Or, said Sam. Or not, Eamon chuckled softly. Or I am an old man, feverish and dying. He closed his white eyes warily, then forced them open once again. I should not have left the wall. Lord Snow could not have known, but I should have seen it. Fire consumes, but cold preserves. The wall, but it is too late to go running back. The stranger waits outside my door. Jaime Lannister wasn't deluded enough to think he could beat the hound Sandor Clegane with one hand. This was notably when he was asking who the castellan at Harrenhal was. Polliver, another man said. Only the hound killed him, my lord. Him and the tickler both. And that Sarsfield boy. The hound again. You know it was Sandor? You saw him? When a dog goes mad, you cut his throat, Jaime continued. Well, the man said, rubbing his mouth, I never much liked Polly, that shit, and the dog. He were Sir's brother, so? We're bad, my lord, broke in the man who wore the coins. But you need to be mad to face the hound. You were afraid of him. I wouldn't say afraid, my lord. I'd say we was leaving him for our betters. Someone like Sir, or you. Me, when I had two hands. Jaime did not delude himself. Sandor would make short work of him now. It's revealed by Jaime Lannister why Ilyn Payne became the King's Justice and just why he was so effective for this role. Sir Ilyn's appointment had been a wedding gift from Robert Baratheon to the father of his bride, a sinecure to compensate Payne for the tongue he'd lost in the service of House Lannister. He made a splendid headsman. He had never botched an execution and seldom required as much as a second stroke. And there was something about his silence that inspired terror. Seldom had a King's Justice seemed so well fitted for his office. Cersei Lannister may have indirectly saved Pierre's life from the hands of the mountain Gregor Clegane. Take the as well, Sir Bonifer urged. You know the one, the girl from the dungeons. Pierre. The last time Jaime had been here, Qyburn had sent the girl to his bed, thinking that would please him. But the Pierre they had brought up from the dungeon was a different creature from the sweet, simple, giggly creature who'd crawled beneath his blankets. She had made the same mistake of speaking when Sir Gregor wanted quiet. So the mountain had squashed her teeth to splinters with a mailed fist and broken her pretty little nose as well. He would have done worse, no doubt, if Cersei had not called him down to King's Landing to face the Red Viper's spear. Jaime would not mourn him. Cersei Lannister quizzes Lady Tanna Merryweather as to whether Margaery Tyrell really is a maiden or not. Tell me true, my lady. Do you think Margaery is still a maiden? She says she is, your grace. So she does. What do you say? Tanya's black eyes sparkled with mischief. When she wed Lord Renly at Highgarden, I helped disrobe him for the bedding. His lordship was a well-made man, and lusty. I saw the proof when we tumbled him into the wedding bed where his bride awaited him, as naked as her name day, blushing prettily beneath the coverlets. Sir Loras had carried her up the steps himself. Margaery may say that the marriage was never consummated, that Lord Renly had drunk too much wine at the wedding feast. But, I promise you, the bit between his legs was anything but weary when last I saw it. We learn that Maester Pycelle was a frequent visitor to Margaery Tyrell, and this particularly irked Cersei Lannister. I understand the little queen has many admirers amongst our own household knights, the Redwyne twins, Sir Talad. Who else, pray tell? Lady Merryweather gave a shrug. Sir Lampart the Fool who hides a good eye behind a patch, Bayard Norcross, Courtney Greenhill, the brothers Woodwright, sometimes Portifer, and often Lucentin. Oh, and Grand Maester Pycelle is a frequent visitor. Pycelle, truly? Had that doddering old worm forsaken the lion for the rose? If so, he will regret it. Who else? We get a funny detail from Cersei Lannister on how the realm remembers every High Septon. Orton told me that the High Septon has no name. Lady Tanya said, can that be true? In Mia, we all have names. Oh, he had a name once. They all do. The queen waved a hand dismissively. Even septons born of noble blood go only by their given name once they have taken their vows. When one of them is elevated to high septon, he puts aside that name as well. The faith will tell you he no longer has any need of a man's name, for he has become the avatar of the gods. How do you distinguish one high septon from another? With difficulty, one has to say, the fat one, or the one before the fat one, or the one who died in his sleep. You can always wrinkle out their birth names if you like, but they take umbrage if you use them. It reminds them that they were born ordinary men, and they do not like that. Cersei slept with Jaime just before her wedding to Robert. After confessing to the faith about sleeping with one of her Kingsguard, one of the Septors tells Cersei afterwards, "We have all been praying for your grace," and another says, "And you must feel so much lighter now, clean and innocent as a maid on the morning of her wedding." "I ate Jaime on the morning of my wedding," the queen recalled. "I do," she said. "I feel reborn." Cersei Lannister has regret that Joffrey never had anyone his age to play with, and was hoping Tommen wouldn't fall to the same fate. As a bonus, it would also keep him away from Margaery Tyrell's control. "You should bring this son of yours to court," Cersei told Lady Merryweather. 6 is not too young. Tommen needs other boys about him. Why not your son?" Joffrey had never had a close friend of his own age, that she recalled. The poor boy was always alone. "I had Jaime when I was a child, and Melara until she fell into the well." Joff had been fond of the hound, to be sure, but that was not friendship. He was looking for the father he never found in Robert. A little foster brother might just be what Tommen needs to wean him away from Margaery and her hens. In time, they might grow as close as Robert and that boyhood friend, Ned Stark. A fool, but a loyal fool. Tommen will have need of loyal friends to watch his back. In the Winds of Winter, Littlefinger tasked Sansa with seducing the heir to the Vale. Harry the heir, who already has 2 bastard children, one of which was named Saffron. Sansa teases him, saying, "Saffron?" Elaine tried not to laugh. Truly, Sir Harold had the grace to blush. Her father says she is more precious to him than gold. He's rich, the richest man in Goldtown, a fortune in spices. "What will you name the babe?" she asked. "Cinnamon if she's a girl, Close if he's a boy." That almost made him stumble. "My Lady Japes, Saffron is very beautiful, I'll have you know. Tall and slim, with big brown eyes and hair like honey." Elaine raised her head. "More beautiful than me?" Sir Harold studied her face. "You are comely enough, I grant you. When Lady Anea first told me of this match, I was afraid that you might look like your father." "Little pointy beard and all?" Elaine laughed. "I never meant." "I hope you joust better than you talk." For a moment he looked shocked, but as the song was ending, he burst into a laugh. "No one told me you were clever." He has good teeth, she thought, straight and white. And when he smiles, he has the nicest dimples. She ran one finger down his cheek. "Should we ever wed, you'll have to send Saffron back to her father. I'll be all the spice you'll want." In the Winds of Winter, Arya says that she can't be late for her own after killing Raff the Sweetling, the guy who killed Lomi. "Vala Morghulis," Arya whispered, but Raff was dead and did not hear. She sniffed. "I should have helped him down the steps before I killed him. Now I need to drag him all the way to the canal and roll him in. The eels would do the rest." "Mercy, mercy, mercy," she sang sadly. A foolish giddy girl she'd been, but good-hearted. She would miss her. This would make trouble for the Sea Lord and the envoy with the chicken on his chest, she did not doubt. She would think about that later though. Just now, there was no time. I had best run. Mercy still had some lines to say, her first lines and her last. And Izembaro would have her pretty little empty head if she were late for her own. The High Sparrow takes a subtle shot at Cersei Lannister for allowing Ned Stark to be executed at the Sept of Baelor. "High Holiness," she said, "these sparrows are frightening the city. I want them gone." "Where would they go, Your Grace? There are 7 hells and only one of them will serve. Back where they came from, I would imagine." "They came from everywhere." As the sparrow is the humblest and most common of the birds, they are the humblest and most common of men. They are common, we agree on that much. Have you seen what they have done to blessed Baelor's statue? They befoul the plaza with their pigs and goats and night soil. Night soil can be washed away more easily than blood, your grace. If the plaza was befouled, it was befouled by the execution that was done here. He dares throw Ned Stark in my face. We all regret that Joffrey was young and not as wise as he might have been. Lord Stark should have been beheaded elsewhere, out of respect for blessed Baelor. Cersei Lannister reveals what she thought of Baelor the Blessed, the former Targaryen king who had imprisoned his sisters to protect their innocence and from the lust of men. King Baelor forgave those who conspired against him, the High Sparrow said. King Baelor imprisoned his own sisters, whose only crime was being beautiful. The first time Cersei heard that tale, she had gone to Tyrion's nursery and pinched the little monster till he cried. I should have pinched his nose shut and stuffed my sock into his mouth. She forced herself to smile. King Tommen will forgive the sparrows too, once they have returned to their homes. There's a funny moment where Cersei Lannister reveals the names Tommen Baratheon wants for some of the royal ships. She could not rely upon the Arbor for her navy. The Red Winds were too close to the Tyrells. She needed her own strength at sea. The Dromans rising the river would give her that. Her flagship would dip twice as many oars as King Robert's hammer. Owain had asked her leave to name her Lord Tywin, which Cersei had been pleased to grant. She looked forward to hearing men speak of her father as a she. Another of the ships would be named Sweet Cersei and would bear a gilded figurehead carved in her likeness, clad in mail and lion helm, with spear in hand. Brave Joffrey, Lady Joanna, and Lioness would follow her to sea, along with Queen Marjorie, Golden Rose, Lord Renly, Lady Olenna, and Princess Marcilla. The Queen had made the mistake of telling Tommen he might name the last 5. He had actually chosen Moonboy for one. Only when Lord Owain suggested that men might not want to serve on a ship named for a fool, how did Cersei Lannister and the High Sparrow come to an agreement in the books? Maegor's laws could be undone, Cersei finished. She let that hang there, waiting for the High Sparrow to rise to the bait. He did not disappoint her. The Faith Militant reborn, that would be the answer to 300 years of prayer, Your Grace. The warrior would lift his shining sword again and cleanse this sinful realm of all its evil. If His Grace were to allow me to restore the ancient blessed order of the sword and star, every godly man in the 7 kingdoms would know him to be our true and rightful Lord. That was sweet to hear, but Cersei took care not to seem too eager. Your High Holiness spoke of forgiveness earlier. In these troubled times, King Tommen would be most grateful if you could see your way to forgiving the crown's debt. It seems to me we owe the faith some 900,000 dragons. As you wish, the debt shall be forgiven, and King Tommen will have his blessing. The warrior's sons shall escort me for him. There's an interesting contrast when Cersei Lannister reveals how she felt coming to King's Landing compared to Sansa Stark in the first book. Your Grace is kind, but Russell has never known any home but Longtable. I fear he would be lost in this great city, Lady Merryweather said. In the beginning, the Queen allowed, but he will soon outgrow that, as I did. When my father sent for me to court, I wept and Jaime raged, until my aunt sat me down in the stone garden and told me there was no one in King's Landing that I need ever fear. You are a lioness, she said, and it's for all the lesser beasts to fear you. Your son will find his courage too. Meanwhile, Sansa was ecstatic to arrive in the capital, but that quickly changed in a matter of time, with Cersei playing a big reason for her troubles in the capital. In the Winds of Winter, we find out Euron Greyjoy his younger brother right under Balon's nose. Euron tells Aeron, "Your god has forsaken you." Aeron replies, "You're wrong." Euron laughs. "It was me who taught you how to pray, little brother. Have you forgotten? I would visit your bedchamber at night when I had too much to drink. You shared a room with Euron High up in the sea tower. I could hear you praying from outside the door. I always wondered, were you praying that I would choose you or that I would pass you by? Cersei reveals one short moment in her marriage with Robert where she felt happy, and it's in more detail than in the show. As she had made her way through the ragged throng, past their cook fires, wagons, and crude shelters, the Queen found herself remembering another crowd that had once gathered on this plaza. The day she wed Robert Baratheon, thousands had turned out to cheer for them. All the women wore their best, and half the men had children on their shoulders. While she had emerged from inside the sept, hand in hand with the young king, the crowd sent up a roar so loud it could be heard in Lannisport. "They like you well, my lady," Robert whispered in her ear. "See, every face is smiling." For that one short moment, she had been happy in her marriage, until she chanced to glance at Jaime. No, she remembered thinking, "Not every face, my lord." We hear just how continually Maester Pycelle managed to annoy Cersei Lannister and challenge her rule as Queen Regent in A Feast for Crows. Grand Maester Pycelle had wanted an older man, more seasoned in the ways of war, to command the Gold Cloaks, and several of her other counselors had agreed with him. Sir Osfred is seasoned quite sufficiently, she had told them, but even that did not shut them up. They yap at me like a pack of small annoying dogs. Her patience with Pycelle had all but run its course. He had even had the temerity to object to her sending to Dorne for a master-at-arms, on the grounds that it might offend the Tyrells. "Why do you think I'm doing it?" she had asked him scornfully. HBO once spent over $30 million on a Game of Thrones prequel that never aired. After the original show ended, the network greenlit a pilot set during Westeros, Age of Heroes, starring Naomi Watts. George R.R. Martin even suggested calling it The Long Night. Fans were excited. The series promised a fresh era with no Targaryens and a brand new story thousands of years before the main saga. But after filming, HBO executive watched the finished pilot and decided it just doesn't work. In a shocking move, they scrapped the project entirely, eating the massive cost. The cancellation sparked huge debate. Had HBO lost confidence in expanding the Thrones universe, or were they simply cutting losses on a misfire? Ultimately, the network pivoted to House of the Dragon, which went straight to series and became a hit. The axed pilot remains one of TV's most expensive what-if moments. Cersei Lannister had a plan drawn out to truly win over the full North. It was after she was informed that Wyman Manderley had hung Davos Seaworth, which turned out to be a lie on Manderley's part. "Very good," said Cersei. "Send a bird to Manderley and inform him that his son will be returned forthwith, now that he has demonstrated his loyalty." White Harbor would soon return to King's Peace, and Roose Bolton and his bastard son were closing in on Moat Caitlin from south and north. Once the moat was theirs, they would join their strength and clear the Ironmen out of Torrhen Square, and Deepwood Motte as well. That should win them the allegiance of Ned Stark's remaining bannermen when the time came to march against Lord Stannis. Varys felt bad for killing Kevan Lannister and Pycelle. After Kevan found a dead Pycelle, he is struck by a crossbow by Varys, who tells him, "Sir Kevan, forgive me if you can. I bear you no ill will. This was not done from malice. It was for the realm, for the children. I have children. I have a wife. O Dorna." Pain washed over him. He closed his eyes, opened them again. There are hundreds of Lannister guardsmen in this castle, but none in this room, thankfully. This pains me, my lord. You do not deserve to die alone on such a cold, dark night. There are many like you, good men in the service to bad causes. But you were threatening to undo all the Queen's good work, to reconcile Highgarden and Castle Rock, bind the faith to your little king, unite the Seven Kingdoms under Tommen's rule. You must die. Varys planned to frame the Tyrells for Kevan and Pycelle's deaths. Sir Kevan tried to rise, but the strength had left him. He could not feel his legs. "I thought the crossbow fitting. You shared so much with Lord Tywin. Why not that? Your niece will think the Tyrells had you murdered, mayhaps with the convenience of the imp. The Tyrells will suspect her. Someone, somewhere, will find a way to blame the Dornishmen. Doubt, division, and mistrust will eat the very ground beneath your boy king, whilst Aegon raises his banner above Storm's End, and the lords of the realm gather around him. Aegon, for a moment he did not understand. Then he remembered. A babe swaddled in a crimson cloak, the cloth stained with his blood and brains. Dead. He's dead. No. The eunuch's voice seemed deeper. People used this moment as evidence that Varys had been faking being a eunuch his entire life, since you need balls to have a deep voice. What you need to know about Sir Duncan the Tall, the main character in A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Sir Duncan is an orphan from Fleabottom who squires for a hedge knight. When that hedge knight died, Dunk took his armor and his horse and became a hedge knight himself. He later befriends a bold boy named Egg, and their adventures in Westeros will be seen in the upcoming show. Other than that, what you should know is that Dunk is an honest, brave, and humble man, rare traits for Westeros. He's nearly 7 foot tall, and a fun fact is George R.R. Martin confirmed that Brienne of Tarth was a descendant of Dunk as well. Jaime Lannister stands up to Cersei and even hints that he knows she had been in bed with Osmond Kettleback. This was notably when Cersei ordered Jaime to go to Riverrun. I want Sir Osmond to command the Kingsguard in your absence. She's been Lancel and Osmond Kettleback and Moonboy for all I know. That's not your choice. If I must go, Sir Loras will command here in my stead. Is that a jape? You know how I feel about Sir Loras. If you had not sent Balon Swan to Dorne, I need him there. These Dornishmen cannot be trusted. That red snake championed Tyrion, have you forgotten that? I will not leave my daughter to their mercy, and I will not have Loras Tyrell commanding the Kingsguard. Sir Loras is thrice the man Sir Osmond is. Your notions of manhood have changed you somewhat, brother. Jaime felt his anger rising. True, Loras does not leer at your the way Sir Osmond does, but I hardly think about this. Cersei slapped his face. Varys reveals his true endgame is for Aegon, not Daenerys. He is here. Aegon has been shaped for rule since before he could walk. He has been trained in arms as befits a knight to be, but that was not the end of his education. He reads and writes. He speaks several tongues. He has studied history and law and poetry. A scepter has instructed him in the mysteries of the faith since he was old enough to understand them. He has lived with fisherfolk, worked with his hands, swum in rivers and mended nets, and learned to wash his own clothes at need. He can fish and cook and bind up a wound. He knows what it is like to be hungry, to be hunted, to be afraid. Tommen has been taught that kingship is his right. Aegon knows that kingship is his duty, that a king must put his people first and live and rule for them. In the Winds of Winter sample chapter, Theon tries to warn Stannis to beware of Ramsay. Lord Ramsay will not be far behind them. He wants his bride back. He wants his reek. Theon's laugh was half a titter, half a whimper. Lord Ramsay is the one your grace should fear. Stannis bristled at that. I defeated your uncle Victarion and his iron fleet off Fair Isle, the first time your father crowned himself. I held Storm's End against the power of the Reach for a year, and took Dragonstone from the Targaryens. I smashed Mance Radar at the Wall, though he had 20 times my numbers. Tell me, Turncloak, what battles has the bastard of Bolton ever won that I should fear him? You must not call him that. A wave of pain washed over Theon Greyjoy. He closed his eyes and grimaced. When he opened them again, he said, You do not know him. No more than he knows me. Cersei Lannister believed Joffrey Baratheon would have seen through Margaery Tyrell's deceptions. She also believed that House Tyrell played a role in Tyrion's escape. Every day, in every way, she tries to steal him from me. Joffrey would have seen through her schemer's smile and let her know her place, but Tommen was more gullible. She knew Joff was too strong for her, Cersei thought, remembering the gold coin Qyburn had found. For House Tyrell to hope to rule, he had to be removed. It came back to her that Marjorie and her hideous grandmother had once plotted to marry Sansa Stark to the little queen's crippled brother, Willis. Lord Tywin had forestalled that by stealing a march on them and wedding Sansa to Tyrion. But the link had been there. They are all in it together, she realized with a start. The Tyrells bribed the jailers to free Tyrion and whisked him down the Rose Road to join his vile bride. By now, the both of them are safe in Highgarden. Cersei Lannister reveals how she always refused to go to the woods with Robert Baratheon for his hunts in order to spend time with Jaime. "You and Tommen must come with us next time," Marjorie said. "I know his grace would love it. The Blue Bard played for us, and Sir Talid show us how to fight with a staff the way the small folk do. The woods are so beautiful in autumn. My late husband loved the forest too." In the early years of their marriage, Robert was forever imploring her to hunt with him, but Cersei had always begged off. His hunting trips allowed her time with Jaime, golden days and silver nights. It was a dangerous dance they had danced, to be sure. Eyes and ears were everywhere within the Red Keep, and one could never be certain when Robert would return. Somehow the peril had only served to make their times together that much more thrilling. Still, beauty can sometimes mask deadly danger, she warned the little queen. Robert lost his life in the woods. After Cersei's walk of shame, Kevin had all her lovers arrested. Cersei tells her uncle, "Osney's brothers will not stand by idly and watch him die," Cersei warned him. "I did not expect that they would. I've had both of them arrested." That seemed to take her aback. For what crime? Fornication with a queen. His High Holiness says that you confess to bedding both of them. Had you forgotten? Her face reddened. No. What will you do with them? The wall, if they admit their guilt. If they deny it, they can face Sir Robert. Such men should never have been raised so high. Cersei lowered her head. I misjudged them. You misjudged a good many men, it seems. By the way, Sir Robert is the reanimated corpse of Sir Gregor, which means they might eventually join the Jon Snow plotline if he is still alive. Varys murdered Grand Maester Pycelle with his own hand. Kevin Lannister is summoned by Pycelle and goes to his chamber, and there he sees Grand Maester Pycelle was seated at his table, his head pillowed on the great leather-bound tome before him. Sleeping, Kevin thought, until he blinked and saw the deep red gash in the old man's spotted skull and the blood pooled beneath its head, staining the pages of his book. All around his candle were bits of bone and brain, islands in a lake of melted wax. He wanted guards, Sir Kevin thought. I should have sent him guards. Could Cersei have been right all along? Was this his nephew's work? "Tyrion," he called. "Where?" "Far away," a half-familiar voice replied. He stood in a pool of shadow by a bookcase, plump, pale-faced, round-shouldered, clutching a crossbow in soft powdered hands. Silk slippers swaddled his feet. "Varys?" The eunuch set the crossbow down. Kevin thinks Robert's rebellion wouldn't have happened if Cersei had been married to Prince Rhaegar. Kevin thinks to himself, if Aerys had agreed to marry her to Rhaegar, how many deaths might have been avoided? Cersei could have given the prince the sons he wanted, lions with purple eyes and silver manes, and with such a wife, Rhaegar might never have even looked twice at Lyanna Stark. The northern girl had a wild beauty, as he recalled, though however bright a torch might burn, it could never match the rising sun. But it did no good to brood on lost battles and roads not taken. That was a vice of old Done men, and tonight his own road would take him to his niece's chambers and face to face with Cersei. I have no reason to feel guilty, Sir Kevin told himself. Tywin would understand that surely. It was his daughter who brought shame down on our name, not I. What I did for the good of House Lannister. Victarion Greyjoy was extremely eager to face Jaime Lannister or Loras Tyrell in battle. Lord Tarly bears the Great Wood's Heartsbane, forged of Valyrian steel, and he is always in Lord Tyrell's van, Drum said. Victarion's hunger fled. Let him come. I will take his sword for mine own, as your own forebear took Red Rain. Let them all come, and bring the Lannisters as well. A lion may be fierce enough on land, but at sea, the Krakens rule supreme. He would give half his teeth for the chance to try his axe against the Kingslayer or the Knight of Flowers. That was the sort of battle that he understood. The Kinslayer was accursed in the eyes of gods and men, but the warrior was honored and revered. How did Euron Greyjoy propose the idea of marrying Daenerys Targaryen in the books? A king must have a wife to give him heirs. Brother, I have need of you. Will you go to Slaver's Bay and bring my love to me? You have sons, Victarion told his brother. Base-born mongrels, born of Oars and Weepers. They are of your body. So are the contents of my chamber pot. None is fit to sit the sea stone chair, much less the Iron Throne. No, to make any heir that's worthy of him, I need a different woman. When the Kraken weds the dragon, brother, let all the world beware. What dragon? Said Victarion, frowning. The last of her line. They say she is the fairest woman in the world. Her hair is silver gold and her eyes are amethysts. But you need not take my word for it, brother. Go to Slaver's Bay, behold her beauty, and bring her back to me. After her walk of shame, Cersei was a different person compared to her show counterpart. Sir Kevin could not remember ever seeing his niece so quiet, so subdued, so demure. All for the good, he supposed. But it made him sad as well. Her fire is quenched, she who used to burn so bright. You have not asked about your brother, he said, as they were waiting for the cream cakes. Cersei lifted her chin, her green eyes shining in the candlelight. Jaime, have you had word? None, Cersei. You may need to prepare yourself for, if he were dead, I would know it. We came into this world together, uncle. He would not go without me. She took a drink of wine. Tyrion can leave whenever he wishes. You have had no word of him either, I suppose. No one has tried to sell us a dwarf's head of late, no. Victarion Greyjoy believed Asha Greyjoy's best path going forward was to marry a northern lord after her failed attempt at the Kingsmoot. Asha should have given me her voice. How could she have ever hoped to win the captains and the kings with her pine cones and her turnips? Balon's blood is in her, but she is still a woman. She had run after the Kingsmoot the night the driftwood crown was placed on Euron's head. She and her crew had melted away. Some small part of Victarion was glad she had. If the girl keeps her wits about her, she will wed some northern lord and live with him in his castle, far from the sea and Euron's crow's eye. After her walk of shame, there was a moment when Cersei unnerved her Uncle Kevin. Uncle, may I ask you a question? Whatever you wish. Your wife, do you mean to bring her to court? No. Dorna was a gentle soul, never comfortable but at home with friends and kin around her. She had done well by their children, dreaming of having grandchildren, prayed 7 times a day, loved needlework and flowers. In King's Landing, she would be as happy as one of Tommen's kittens in a pit of vipers. My lady wife mislikes trouble. Lannisport is her place. It is a wise woman who knows her place. He did not like the sound of that. Say what you mean. I thought I did. Cersei held out her cup. Fans interpret this as Cersei planning to seize power again after Kevin's death later in this chapter. Jaime Lannister had Ilan Payne behead one of the Mountain's men for trying to Pia at Harrenhal. One of the Mountain's men had tried to the girl at Harrenhal and had seemed honestly perplexed when Jaime commanded Ilan Payne to take his head off. I had her 100 times before, he kept saying as they forced him to his knees. 100 times, my lord. We all had her. When Sir Ilan presented Pia with his head, she had smiled through her ruined teeth. This was the gruesome way Varys had Kevin Lannister killed. Kevin Lannister tried to cry out to his guards, his wife, his brother. But the words would not come. Blood dribbled from his mouth. He shuddered violently. I am sorry. Varys wrung his hands. You are suffering, I know. Yet here I stand going on like some silly old woman. Time to make an end to it." The eunuch pursed his lips and gave a little whistle. Sir Kevin was cold as ice, and every laboured breath sent a fresh stab of pain through him. He glimpsed movement, heard the soft scuffling sound of slippered feet on stone. A child emerged from a pool of darkness, a pale boy in a ragged robe, no more than 9 or 10. Another rose up behind the Grand Maester's chair. The girl who had opened the door for him was there as well. They were all around him, half a dozen of them, white-faced children with dark eyes, boys and girls together. We learn that Jaime Lannister actually gets aroused by someone other than his sister Cersei. When the tub arrived, little Lou pulled off Jaime's boots and helped remove his golden hand. Peck and Garrett hauled water, and Pia found him something clean to sup in. The girl glanced at him shyly as she shook his double out. Jaime was uncomfortably aware of the curve of hip and breast beneath her rough-spound brown dress. He found himself remembering the things that Pia had whispered to him at Harrenhal, the night that Qyburn sent her to his bed. "Sometimes when I'm with some man," she'd said, "I close my eyes and pretend it's you on top of me." He was grateful when the bath was deep enough to conceal his arousal. George R.R. Martin has publicly confirmed that there are 5 or 6 new Westeros universe shows in development, and among them are actual sequel series, not just prequels, which means we might get a sequel to the infamously bad Season 8 of Game of Thrones. So far, there is speculation that the show will follow Arya Stark, though earlier sequel proposals like a Jon Snow show were cancelled. Anyway, what do you think about this news? After 10 years, Jack Gleeson has finally returned to the screen. After essentially quitting acting after his infamous portrayal of Joffrey Baratheon, Jack is starring in the British-Irish historical drama television series House of Guinness, and the reviews are pretty good. So, if you want to see Jack Gleeson again, go give it a watch. We don't know where Ned Stark's bones are. So, after his execution in King's Landing, Sir Cleos Frey brings his bones to Riverrun. Catelyn Tully asks Hallis Mullen to carry them north to be buried at the Stark crypt at Winterfell, not knowing that Moat Cailin has fallen to the Ironborn, blocking the only viable road. Since that time, Mullen's whereabouts and Ned's bones are unknown. When Barbie Dustin and Theon Greyjoy investigate the crypt in A Dance with Dragons, she says she plans to feed the bones to her dogs, but they have not arrived, implying that Mullen has not yet made it past Moat Cailin. So, where are they? Jaime Lannister's golden hand is a major annoyance for him, despite others being in awe of it. One such case was when he stopped to have supper on his way to Riverrun when his golden hand knocked over a goblet of wine. The hand was wrought of gold, very lifelike, with inlaid nails of mother of pearl, its fingers and thumb half closed so as to slip around a goblet's stem. "I cannot fight, but I can drink," Jaime reflected as the lad was tightening the straps that bound it to its stump. "Men shall name you Golden Hand from this day forth, my lord," the armourer had assured him the first time he'd fitted it onto Jaime's wrist. He was wrong. "I shall be the Kingslayer till I die." The Golden Hand was the occasion for much admiring comment over supper, at least until Jaime knocked over a goblet of wine. Then his temper got the best of him. "If you admire the bloody thing so much, lop off your own sword hand and you can have it," he told Flemont Brax. After that, there was no more talk about his hand. The Tyrell bannermen might betray the Tyrells and Lannisters by supporting Aegon Targaryen. The evidence for this indicates that 2 of Mace Tyrell's strongest bannermen, Randall Tarly and Mathis Rowan, might join Fagon. As we know, Sam Randall is not a good guy and probably despises the fat and aloof Mace. He might also have resentment over Brightwater Keep being awarded to House Tyrell instead of House Tarly, to which his wife, Melissa Florent, has a claim. Next, Mathis Rowan appears upset when Tywin Lannister talks about conceding justice to Doran Martell over the deaths of Elia Martell and her children during the sack of King's Landing. Randall will also have Marjorie in his possession, making her a valuable hostage. But what do you think? Millie Alcock, the actress who played a young Rhaenyra Targaryen, just appeared in the Supergirl movie trailer, and honestly, she does seem kinda perfect for the role. You can definitely see elements of Rhaenyra in her performance from the trailer, but unlike Rhaenyra, demonstrated some pretty good PTSD, so her performance does look pretty good. But what do you think? Tommen and Marjorie as King and Queen of Westeros, with Kevin Lannister as Hand and Cersei hidden away in Castle Rock, probably would have been the most peaceful and best outcome for Westeros, even more than Stannis, Jon, or Daenerys. For example, for Stannis, Daenerys, or Jon Snow to become King or Queen of Westeros means more war in the face of the White Walker invasion, whereas Tommen and Marjorie would probably give Westeros a very peaceful and stable rule for about 50 years while also taking the White Walker invasion very seriously and rallying the Seven Kingdoms against it. But what do you think? What would have been Sansa's reaction to Cersei's Walk of Shame? It's funny how in both the books and show, we have yet to have Sansa's reaction to this event, and it would be interesting to see what Sansa's reaction to this news might be. Does she feel sorry, or will she be glad at Cersei's fall from power, revel in her humiliation, or empathize? The final trailer for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms dropped December 4th, previewing a pretty epic jousting tournament, a trial of 7, with 7-on-7 combatants on each side, which is pretty rare in Westeros, and a volatile Targaryen who should make a pretty good antagonist for the first season of the show. Anyway, what do you think of the trailer? We get an interesting and rare interaction involving Tyrion Lannister and Robert Baratheon when Jaime enters House Darry, a pro-Targaryen house. Piety and devotion. It was all Jaime could do not to laugh. The walls had been bare on his first visit too. Tyrion had pointed out the squares of darkest stone where tapestries had once hung, so Raymond could remove the hangings, but not the marks they'd left. Later, the imp had slipped a handful of stags to one of Darry's serving men for a key to the cellar where the missing tapestries were hidden. He showed them to Jaime by the light of a candle, grinning. Woven portraits of all the Targaryen kings, from the first Aegon to the second Aenys. If I tell Robert, mayhaps he'll make me Lord of Darry, the dwarf said, chortling. Jaime Lannister displayed just how much he admired Arthur Dayne by praising him as a greater swordsman than him. The serving men were bringing out the fish course, a river pike baked in a crust of herbs and crushed nuts. Lancel's lady tasted it, approved, and commanded that the first portion be served to Jaime. As they set the fish before him, she leaned across her husband's place to touch his golden hand. You could kill Lord Beric, Sir Jaime. You slew the Smiley Knight. Please, my lord, I beg you, stay and help us with Lord Beric and the Hound. Her pale fingers caressed his golden ones. Does she think that I can feel that? The sword of the morning slew the Smiling Knight, my lady, Sir Arthur Dayne, a better knight than me. How did Cersei Lannister react to coming to an agreement with the High Sparrow in the books by allowing the Faith Militant to return, getting King Tommen's blessing, and reducing the crown's debt? The Queen got to her feet and smoothed her skirts. I shall have the papers drawn up, and His Grace will sign them and affix them with the royal seal. If there was one part of kingship that Tommen loved, it was playing with his seal. 7 save His Grace, long may he reign. The High Septon made a steeple of his hands and raised his eyes to heaven. Let the wicked tremble. Do you hear that, Lord Stannis? Cersei could not help but smile. Even her Lord Father could have done no better. At a stroke, she had rid King's Landing of the plague of sparrows, secured Tommen's blessing, and lessened the crown's debt by close to 1 million dragons. Her heart was soaring as she allowed the High Septon to escort her back to the Hall of Lamps. Jaime Lannister reveals to Ilyn Payne how he was ready to kill Arya Stark for Cersei. Do you see that window, sir? Jaime used a sword to point. That was Rhaemond Dari's bedchamber, where King Robert slept on our return from Winterfell. Ned Stark's daughter had run off after her wolf savaged Joff, you'll recall. My sister wanted the girl to lose a hand, the old penalty, for striking one of the royal blood. Robert told her she was cruel and mad. They fought for half the night. Well, Cersei fought, and Robert drank. Past midnight, the Queen summoned me inside. The King was passed out, snoring on the Myrish carpet. I asked my sister if she wanted me to carry him to bed. She told me I should carry her to bed, and shrugged out of her robe. I took her on Rhaemond Dari's bed after stepping over Robert. If his grace had woken, I would have killed him there and then. He would not have been the first king to die upon my sword. But you know that story. What did Cersei Lannister think Robert Baratheon should have done to the Iron Islands in the books? When news came that the Ironborn had raided the Reach, Cersei remembered Balon Greyjoy's failed rebellion. Robert should have scoured the islands after Balon Greyjoy rose against him, Cersei thought. He smashed their fleet, burned their towns, and broke their castles, but when he had them on their knees, he let them up again. He should have made another island of their skulls. That was what her father would have done. But Robert never had the stomach that a king requires if he hopes to keep peace in the realm. Even Jaime Lannister doubted the Hound, Sandor Clegane, did the atrocities he was reported to have been committing in the Riverlands. "You have not seen the things he did, sir," Sir Arwood said. "I have. When the reports reached the twins, I rode down with Harris Hay and his brother Donal, and 100 men, archers and men-at-arms. We thought it was Lord Beric's work, and hoped to find his trail. All that remains of Saltpans is the castle, and old Sir Quincy, so frightened he would not open his gates, but shouted down at us from his battlements. The rest is bones and ashes. A whole town. The Hound put the buildings to the torch, and the people to the sword, and rode off, laughing. The women, you would not believe what he did to some of the women. I will not speak of it at the table. It made me sick to see." Jaime sipped his wine. "What makes you certain it was the Hound?" What they were describing sounded more like Gregor's work than Sandor's. Sandor had been hard and brutal, yes, but it was his big brother who was the real monster in House Clegane. Cersei Lannister reveals how one time she voiced her displeasure against Robert Baratheon for hurting her during their intimate moments. The wrong man came back from the Trident, the Queen would sometimes think, as he was ploughing her. In the first few years, when he mounted her more often, she would close her eyes and pretend that he was Rhaegar. She could not pretend that he was Jaime. He was too different, too unfamiliar. Even the smell of him was wrong. For Robert, those nights never happened. Come morning, he remembered nothing, or so he would have her believe. Once during the first year of their marriage, Cersei had voiced her displeasure the next day. "You hurt me," she complained. He had the grace to look ashamed. "It was not me, my lady," he said in a sulky, sullen voice, like a child caught stealing apple cakes from the kitchen. "It was the wine. I drink too much wine," to wash down his admission. He reached for his horn of ale. As he raised it to his mouth, she smashed her own horn in his face, so hard she chipped a tooth. Years later at a feast, she heard him telling a serving wench how he cracked the tooth in a melee. Well, our marriage was a melee, she reflected, so he did not lie. When the Ironborn raided the Reach, Cersei Lannister believed it had Stannis Baratheon written all over it. Stannis may have had a hand in this. Balon Greyjoy offered my Lord Father an alliance. Perhaps his son has offered one to Stannis. Pycelle frowned. What would Lord Stannis gain by? He gains another foothold, and plunder, that as well. Stannis needs gold to pay his sellswords. By raiding in the west, he hopes he can distract us from Dragonstone and Storm's End. Lord Merryweather nodded. A diversion. Stannis is more cunning than we knew. Your grace is clever to have seen through his ploy. Lord Stannis is striving to win the Northmen to his cause, said Pycelle. If he befriends the Ironborn, he cannot hope. The Northmen will not have him, Cersei said, wondering how such a learned man could be so stupid. Lord Manderley hacked the head and hands off the Onion Knight. We have that from the phrase, and half a dozen other northern lords have rallied to Lord Bolton. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Where else can Stannis turn but to the Ironmen and the Wildlings, the enemies of the North? But if he thinks I'm going to walk into his trap, he is a bigger fool than you. How did Bronn foil Cersei Lannister's plan in the books? Cersei had intended for Bronn to have a mishap resulting in his death. However, Bronn had other ideas. You are telling me Sir Balman challenged Bronn to single combat? Cersei asked. He said it would be a simple... The lance is a knight's weapon, he said, and Bronn was no true knight. Balman said he would unhorse him and finish him as he lay stunned. Felice Stokeworth replied, Bronn was no knight. That was true. Bronn was a battle-hardened killer. Your cretin of a husband wrote his own death warrant. A splendid plan. Dare I ask how it went awry? Bronn drove his lance through the chest of Balman's poor horse. Balman, his legs were crushed when the beast fell. He screamed so piteously. Sellswords have no pity, Cersei might have said. I asked you to arrange a hunting mishap, an arrow gone astray, a fall from a horse, an angry boar. There are so many ways a man can die in the woods, none of them involving lances. Cersei Lannister openly volunteered in giving Felice Stokeworth to Qyburn for his experiments. This was after her plan to have Bronn killed failed, and Cersei needed Felice's silence to prevent her from telling anyone of her plan. Cersei went to the door and called her maids. She told Dorcas to find Lord Qyburn for her and bring him here at once. The Queen took Qyburn aside and told him of Sir Balman's folly. I cannot have Felice spreading tales about the city. Her grief has made her witless. Do you still need women for your work? I do, your grace. The puppeteers are quite used up. Take her and do with her as you will then. But once she goes down into the black cells, need I say more? No, your grace, I understand. Good. The Queen donned her smile once again. Sweet Felice, Maester Qyburn's here. He'll help you rest. Oh, said Felice vaguely. Oh, good. When the door closed behind them, Cersei poured herself another cup of wine. I am surrounded by enemies and imbeciles, she said. Despite being a hypocrite and following Robert Baratheon's lead by drinking too much, Cersei Lannister pleased herself by believing she was still a better ruler than her former husband. Taena had drifted back to sleep by the time the Queen returned to the bedchamber, her head spinning. Too much wine and too little sleep, she told herself. It was not every night that she was awakened twice with such desperate tidings. At least I could awaken. Robert would have been too drunk to rise, let alone rule. It would have fallen to Jon Arryn to deal with all of this. It pleased her to think that she made a better king than Robert. After Cersei's walk of shame, Kevin learned that his niece was bathing 4 or 5 times a day. His niece had been subdued and submissive since her walk of atonement. Thank the gods. The novices who attended her reported that she spent a third of her waking hours with her son, another third in prayer, and the rest in her tub. She was bathing 4 or 5 times a day, scrubbing herself with horsehair brushes and strong lye soap, as if she meant to scrape her skin off. She will never wash the stain away, no matter how hard she scrubs. So Kevin remembered the girl she had once been, so full of life and mischief, and when she'd flowered, had there ever been a maid so sweet to look upon? When Jaime Lannister discusses dealing with the Blackfish in Riverrun, there's a moment of self-reflection where we can see just how much he's matured. I'll wear a gorget when I treat with them, said Jaime, with half a smile. I mean to offer him generous terms. If he could end this siege without bloodshed, then it could not be said that he had taken up arms against House Tully. You are welcome to try, my lord, but I doubt that words will win the day. We need to storm the castle. There had been a time not so long ago when Jaime would doubtless have urged the same course. He knew he could not sit here for 2 years to starve the Blackfish out. "Whatever we do needs to be done quickly," he told Sir Davin. "My place is back at King's Landing with the king." "Aye," his cousin said. "I don't doubt your sister needs you. Why did she send off Kevin? I thought she'd make him hand." He would not take it. He was not as blind as I was. There's a funny moment where Jaime Lannister's cousin Davin, now Warden of the West, mocks Selyse Baratheon. Peck served the wine on a golden platter, so Davin pulled off his gloves and took a cup. "Thank you, boy. Who might you be?" "Josmin Peckledon, if it pleases my lord." "Peck was a hero on the Blackwater," Jaime said. "He slew 2 knights and captured 2 more. You must be a more dangerous man than you look, lad. Is that a beard, or did you forget to wash the dirt off your face? Stannis Baratheon's wife has a thicker mustache. How old are you?" Jaime Lannister's relationship with Cersei eventually deteriorated so much that he even dreamed of beating her in his dream. "Kevin should not be the Warden of the West, or you. It's not that I'm not grateful for the honor, mind you, but our uncle's twice my age and has more experience of command. I hope he knows I never asked for this," Davin said. "He knows. How is Cersei? As beautiful as ever? Radiant. Fickle. Golden. False as fool's gold. Last night, he dreamed he'd found her the Moon Boy. He killed the fool and smashed his sister's teeth to splinters with his golden hand, just as Gregor Clegane had done to poor Pia. In his dreams, Jaime always had 2 hands. One was made of gold, but it worked just like the other. The sooner we are done with Riverrun, the sooner I'll be back at Cersei's side. What Jaime would do then, he did not know. When recalling his first ever visit to Riverrun as a youth, Jaime Lannister reveals how he admired Brynden Tully, the Blackfish. "The first time I saw Riverrun, I was a squire, green as summer grass," Jaime told his cousin. "Old Sumner Crackhall sent me to deliver a message, one he swore could not be entrusted to a raven. Lord Hoster kept me for a fortnight whilst muling his reply, and sat me beside his daughter, Lysa, at every meal. Small wonder you took the white, I'd have done the same." Oh, Lysa was not so fearsome as all that. She had been a pretty girl, in truth, dimpled and delicate with long auburn hair. Timid though, prone to tongue-tied silences and fits of giggles with none of Cersei's fire. Her older sister had seemed more interesting though. Catelyn was promised to some northern boy, the heir of Winterfell. But at that age, no girl interested Jaime half so much as Hoster's famous brother, who had won renown fighting the 9 penny kings upon the stepstones. At table, he had ignored poor Lysa whilst pressing Brynden Tully for tales of Melies the Monstrous and the Ebon Prince. So Brynden was younger then than I am now, Jaime reflected. Why the Mad King's Kingsguard was so much better than King Robert's. Aerys II's Kingsguard included what is widely considered the greatest collection of knights ever to serve together. Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, possibly the finest swordsman in Westerosi history. Sir Barristan Selmy defeated Melies the Monstrous, rescued Aerys from Duskendale alone. Sir Gerald Hightower, the White Bull, a legendary commander. Sir Oswald Went, deadly, disciplined, and clever. Sir Jonathan Darry, a veteran warrior. Sir Lewin Martell, Jaime respected him, and Jaime Lannister himself in his early career, raw but immensely gifted. Meanwhile, Robert has an old Barristan, an untrustworthy Jaime, 2 Lannister cronies in Meryn Trant, and Boris Blount, who was such a bad Kingsguard, he becomes Tommen's food taster. Mandon Moore, who gets killed by Podrick. Sir Preston Greenfield, so inexperienced he dies in the riots of King's Landing. And Sir Aerys Oakheart, who dies without inflicting a single wound on Areo Hotar. Why is Robert's Kingsguard so weak? There's a funny moment that occurs when Jaime Lannister meets his Aunt Gina Lannister, who was offering her condolences for Tywin's death. Gina Lannister had been a shapely woman in her youth, always threatening to overflow her bodice. Now, the only shape she had was square. Her face was broad and smooth, her neck a thick pink pillar, her bosom enormous. She carried enough flesh to make two of her husband. Jaime hugged her dutifully and waited for her to pinch his ear. She had been pinching his ear for as long as he could remember, but today she forbore. Instead, she planted soft and sloppy kisses on his cheeks. "I am very sorry for your loss. I had a new hand made of gold," he showed her. "Very nice. Will they make you a gold father too?" Lady Jenna's voice was sharp. "Tywin was the loss I meant." We get some insight from Jenna Lannister as to the few times Tywin Lannister actually smiled. Is it true that Tywin was smiling on his bier? "He was rotting on his bier. It made his mouth twist," Jaime replied. Was that all it was that seemed to sadden her? Men say that Tywin never smiled, but he smiled when he wed your mother and when Aerys made him hand. When Tarbeck Hall came crashing down on Lady Ellen, that scheming bitch, Ty claimed he'd smiled then. And he smiled at your birth, Jaime. I saw that with my own eyes. You and Cersei, pink and perfect, as alike as two peas in a pod. Well, except between the legs. What lungs you had. In Season 4, Episode 2, Jaime Lannister and Joffrey talked about Sir Duncan the Tall when discussing the White Book. Joffrey says to his father, "So, this is the famous Book of Brothers." They then talk about Sir Arthur Dayne, the Sword of the Morning, who led the attack on the Kingswood Brotherhood, defeated the Smiling Knight in single combat. Then they bring up Sir Duncan the Tall, and Joffrey comments that he's got 4 pages and must have been quite a man. Jaime replies, "So they say." We get an interesting line from Gina Lannister about who her brother Tywin's real son is. "Who will protect us now?" Jaime kissed her cheek. "He left a son." "Aye, he did. That is what I fear the most, in truth." That was a queer remark. "Why should you fear?" "Jaime," she said, tugging on his ear, "sweetling, I have known you since you were a babe at Joanna's breast. You smile like Geryon and fight like Tig, and there's some of Kevin in you, else you would not wear that cloak. But Tyrion is Tywin's son, not you. I said so once to your father's face, and he would not speak to me for half a year. Men are such thundering great fools, even the sort who come along once in 1,000 years." Ned's older brother, Brandon, liked to sleep with virgins. Brandon was taller than his younger brother, Eddard, and Catelyn Tully found Brandon more handsome than Ned. Brandon was also wilder and more hot-blooded, a trait his father, Lord Rickard Stark, described as originating from the wolf blood. Brandon shared this trait with his sister, Lyanna, and Eddard believes this led them both to early deaths. Brandon was a better swordsman and jouster than his younger brothers. Lord Hoster Tully considers Brandon to have been a gallant fool. Brandon was not shy about taking what he wanted, including women. Lady Barbary Riswell, one of Brandon's lovers, believes he enjoys taking her virginity. When asked if Brandon had any issue, George R.R. Martin responded, "It'd be an exaggeration to say that Brandon died before he could have children. It's established in the books that he was no virgin. He could very well have left behind some little snows in the various places he's visited. But what's absolutely clear is that he had no legitimate children." Arya Stark kills a Night's Watch member in Braavos for deserting. Daeron had accompanied Samwell, Aegon, and Gilly, but chose to desert and remain in Braavos, which angered Arya. "What happened to your brother?" Kat asked. "The fat one. Did he ever find a ship to Old Town?" "He said he was supposed to sail on the Lady Eushonora." "We all were. Lord Snow's command. I told Sam, leave the old man, but the fat fool would not listen," Daeron replied. "Well, it's too late now." "Just so," said Kat, as they stepped into the gloom of a twisty little alley. Arya would later confirm she killed Daeron to the kindly man. Daeron is dead. The black singer who was sleeping at the Happy Port. He was really a deserter from the Night's Watch. Someone slit his throat and pushed him into a canal, but they kept his boots. Good boots are hard to find. Just so. Who could have done this thing, I wonder? Arya of House Stark. She watched his eyes, his mouth, the muscles of his jaw. That girl. I thought she had left Braavos. Who are you? No one. You lie. There was a woman who seduced a Targaryen king and got her head. Obviously the king was Aegon IV the Unworthy, and the woman was Bethany Bracken. But this only happened because Bethany's older sister had seduced Aegon first. Barbara was a buxom, dark hair, and not very modest paramour of Aegon. Barbara gave birth to a bastard son of Aegon, Aegor Rivers, only a fortnight before Queen Nerys Targaryen nearly died in childbirth. With Nerys lingering near death, Barbara's father began to speak openly of Barbara marrying King Aegon IV. However, Queen Nerys recovered, and the talk about Barbara marrying the king became a scandal. Princes Aemon and Daeron Targaryen, Nerys' brother and son, forced King Aegon to send both Barbara and her bastard son away from court. They returned to Stonehenge, where Barbara raised her son, Aegor. After Barbara, King Aegon IV took Melissa Blackwood as his mistress, who was younger, prettier, and more modest. In response, Barbara and her father began grooming Barbara's younger sister, Bethany, to replace Melissa. This eventually worked in 177 AC, when Bethany caught Aegon's eye while he was visiting Stonehenge to see Aegor. However, in 178 AC, Bethany was caught abed with the handsome Knight of the Kingsguard, Sir Terence Tone, and both Bethany and Lord Bracken were executed. After making love to Gilly, Samwell Tarly immediately started avoiding her on their way to Oldtown. Gilly, Sam thought, what am I going to do with Gilly? It was a long, hot, sticky day, made longer by his pounding head. Sam busied himself with ropes and sails and the other tasks that Exondo set him, and tried not to let his eyes wander to the cask of rum that held old Maester Aemon's body, or to Gilly. He could not face the wildling girl right now, not after what they'd done last night. When she came up on the deck, he went below. When she went forward, he went aft. When she smiled at him, he turned away, feeling wretched. I should have jumped into the sea while she was asleep, he thought. I have always been a craven, but I was never an oathbreaker till now. If Maester Aemon had not died, Sam could have asked him what to do. If Jon Snow had been abroad, or even Pip, or Gren, he might have turned to them. Instead, he had Zondo. Zondo would not understand what I was saying. Or, if he did, he'd tell me to the girl again. Had been the first word of the common tongue that Zondo had learned, and he was very fond of it. How did Cersei Lannister learn that Loras Tyrell had taken Dragonstone but had suffered severe injuries in the books? Do we have Sir Loras to thank for this triumph? Some will say so, Your Grace, Orain Waters replied. Some? Not you? I never saw a braver knight, Waters said, but he turned what could have been a bloodless victory into a slaughter. 1,000 men are dead, or near enough to make no matter. Most of them our own, and not just common men, Your Grace, but knights and young lords, the best and the bravest. And Sir Loras himself, he will make 1,001. They carried him inside the castle after the battle, but his wounds are grievous. He has lost so much blood that the maesters will not even leech him. Oh, how sad. Tommen will be heartbroken. He did so admire our gallant Knight of Flowers. The small folk too, her admiral said, will have maidens weeping into their wine all across the realm when Loras dies. He was not wrong, the Queen knew. 3,000 small folk had crowded through the Mudgate to see Sir Loras off the day he sailed, and 3 of every 4 were women. The sight had only served to fill her with content. She had wanted to scream at them that they were sheep, to tell them that all they could ever hope to get from Loras Tyrell was a smile and a flower. Instead, she had proclaimed him the boldest knight in the 7 kingdoms, and smiled as Tommen presented him with a jeweled sword to carry into battle. The king had given him a hug as well, which had not been part of Cersei's plans, but it made no matter now. She could afford to be generous. Loras Tyrell was dying. "Tell me," Cersei commanded. "I want to know all of it, from the beginning to the end. I do not want our precious Margaery to hear these tidings from a stranger after all," she said. "I will tell her myself." How did Cersei Lannister inform Margaery Tyrell that Loras was dying after retaking Dragonstone in the books? "Your Grace," she began, "it is best you hear the news from me. Owain is back from Dragonstone. Your brother is a hero." "I always knew he was." Margaery did not seem surprised. Why should she? She expected this, from the moment Loras begged for the command. Yet, by the time Cersei had finished with her tale, tears glistened on the cheeks of the younger queen. Redwyn had miners working to drive a tunnel underneath the castle walls, but that was too slow for the Night of Flowers. No doubt he was thinking of your Lord Father's people suffering on the shields. Lord Waters says he ordered the assault not half a day after taking command, after Lord Stannis' Castellan refused his offer to settle the siege between them in single combat. Loras was the first one through the breach when the ram broke the castle gates. He rode straight into the dragon's mouth, they say, all in white and swinging his morning star about his head, slaying left and right. Margaery Tyrell was sobbing openly by then. "How did he die?" she asked. "Who killed him?" "No one man has that honor," said Cersei. "So Loras took a quarrel through the thigh and another through the shoulder, but he fought on gallantly, though the blood was streaming from him. Later he suffered a mace blow that broke some ribs. After that, but no, I would spare you the worst of it." "Tell me," said Margaery. "I command it." Command it? Cersei paused a moment, then decided she would let that pass. The defenders fell back to an inner keep once the curtain wall was taken. Loras led the attack there as well. He was doused with boiling oil. What kind of crown did Cersei Lannister have? Well, she had two. After finding out that Loras was probably soon to die after taking Dragonstone, Cersei tells us. The sunrise was the prettiest that Cersei had seen in years. Taena appeared soon thereafter and confessed to having spent the night consoling Margaery and her ladies, drinking wine and crying and telling tales of Loras. "Margaery is still convinced he will not die," she reported, as the queen was dressed for court. "She plans to send her own maester to look after him. The cousins are praying for the mother's mercy. I shall pray as well, on the morrow. Come with me to Baela's Sept, and we will light 100 candles for our gallant Night of Flowers." She turned to her handmaid. "Dorcas, bring my crown, the new one, if you please." It was lighter than the old, pale spun gold, set with emeralds that sparkled when she turned her head. That Tyrion Lannister was considered a villain in the books. The tale of him purposefully killing his own mother at birth is just one of the many people tell about Tyrion Lannister. Fear and hatred towards the imp only grows after he murders his own father, the Hand of King Tommen. In Tyrosh, we name him Red Hands, for the blood running from his fingers, a king's blood and a father's. Some say he slew his mother too, ripping his way from her womb with savage claws. What nonsense, Cersei thought. "It is true," she said. "If the imp's head is in that chest, I shall raise you to lordship and grant you rich lands and keeps." That Cersei Lannister wanted to be a ruler in her own right. After her eldest son, King Joffrey Baratheon, dies, the queen wishes she could be the true leader of the Seven Kingdoms, and not merely a substitute queen. "I know the inn where the Blue Bard plays when he is not singing attendance on the Little Queen, and a certain cellar where a conjurer turns lead into gold, water into wine, and girls into boys. Perhaps he would work his spells on the two of us. Would it amuse your grace to be a man for one night?" "If I were a man, I would be Jaime," the queen thought. "If I were a man, I could rule this realm in my own name in place of Tommen." Margaery Tyrell showed her first signs of anger and hostility towards Cersei after the latter seemed intent on believing Loras was dead. Cersei took Margaery into her arms to comfort her. He saved the realm. When she kissed the little queen upon the cheek, she could taste the salt of her tears. Jaime will enter all his deeds into the White Book, and the singers will sing of him for 1,000 years. Margaery wrenched free of her embrace, so violently that Cersei almost fell. "Dying is not dead," she said. "No, but the maesters say, dying is not dead. I only want to spare you. I know what you want. Get out." "Now you know how I felt the night my Joffrey died." She bowed. Her face was a mask of cool courtesy. "Sweet daughter, I am sad for you. I will leave you with your grief." Margaery would soon be weeping the bitter tears she would have wept for Joffrey. Mace Tyrell might weep as well, but she had given him no cause to break with her. What had she done after all but honour Loras with her trust? He had requested the command on bended knee whilst half her court looked on. When he dies, I must raise a statue of him somewhere and give him a funeral such as King Landing has never seen. The small folk would like that. So would Tommen. Mace may even thank me, poor man. As for his lady mother, if the gods are good, this news will kill her. We learn from Jaina Lannister that a 10-year-old Tywin Lannister had Walder Frey shaking in fear. "Did you love him?" Jaime heard himself ask. His aunt looked at him strangely. "I was 7 when Walder Frey persuaded my lord father to give my hand to M, his second son, not even his heir. Father was himself a third-born son, and younger children crave the approval of their elders. Frey sensed that weakness in him, and father agreed for no better reason than to please him. My betrothal was announced at a feast with half the West in attendance. Ellen Tarback laughed, and the Red Lion went angry from the hall. The rest sat on their tongues. Only Tywin dared speak against the match. A boy of 10. Father turned as white as mare's milk, and Walder Frey was quivering," she smiled. "How could I not love him after that? That is not to say that I approved of all he did, or much enjoyed the company of the man he became. But every little girl needs a big brother to protect her. Tywin was even big when he was little." That Cersei Lannister was jealous of Margaery Tyrell. While Queen Cersei rules the 7 kingdoms in his son's stead, she realizes that Margaery has way too much influence on the boy king. "I wouldn't mind them pecking though," her son went on to say. "I should go to court with you every day to listen. Margaery says, a deal too much," Cersei snapped. "For half a groat, I'd gladly have her tongue torn out." "Don't say that," Tommen shouted suddenly, his round little face turning red. "You leave her tongue alone. Don't you touch her. I'm the king, not you." She stared at him, incredulous. "What did you say?" "I'm the king. I get to say who has their tongues torn out, not you. I won't let you hurt Margaery. I won't. I forbid it." Cersei Lannister wanted to have Margaery Tyrell dead, believing that the young woman is the younger and more beautiful queen she was told will replace her. And after seeing her influence on Tommen, Cersei decides that Margaery must die. Knowing what needed to be done was one thing though. Knowing how to do it was another. Jaime could no longer be relied on. A sudden sickness would be best, but the gods were seldom so obliging. How then? A knife, a pillow, a cup of heartsbane. All of those posed problems. When an old man dies in his sleep, no one thought twice of it. But a girl of 6 and 10, found dead in her bed, was certain to raise awkward questions. Besides, Margaery never slept alone. Even with Sir Loras dying, there were swords about her night and day. Swords have 2 edges though. The very men who guard her could be used to bring her down. The evidence would need to be so overwhelming that even Margaery's own Lord Father would have no choice but to consent to her execution. That would not be easy. Her lovers are not like to confess, knowing it would mean their heads as well as hers. That Cersei was afraid of an old prophecy. "Do you still grieve for this friend of your childhood?" Qyburn asked. "Is that what troubles you, your grace?" Malera: "No, I can hardly recall what she looked like. It is just, the Magi knew how many children I would have, and she knew of Robert's bastards. Years before he sired even the first of them, she knew. She promised me I should be queen, but said another queen would come. Younger and more beautiful, she said. Another queen who would take from me all I loved." "And you wish to forestall this prophecy?" "More than anything," she thought. "Can it be forestalled?" "Oh yes, never doubt that." What was going through Tyrion's head when he found out about the Red Wedding? Tyrion entered the Han Solo to find Cersei, Sir Kevan, and Grand Maester Pycelle gathered about Lord Tywin and the king. Joffrey was almost bouncing, and Cersei was savouring a smug little smile, though Lord Tywin looked as grim as ever. "What's happened?" Tyrion asked. His father offered him a roll of parchment. After reading it, Joffrey shouts out, "He's dead!" Joffrey sounded so proud and happy, you might have thought he'd skinned Robb Stark himself. First Greyjoy and now Stark. Tyrion thought of his child wife, praying in the Godswood even now. "Kings are falling like leaves this autumn," he said. "It would seem our little war is winning itself." "Wars do not win themselves, Tyrion," Cersei said with poisonous sweetness. "Our Lord Father won this war." "Nothing is won so long as we have enemies in the field," Lord Tywin warned them. Even after Robb Stark's death, Tywin still believed the war was not won. "The River Lords are no fools," the Queen argued. "Without the Northmen, they cannot hope to stand against the combined power of Highgarden, Castle Rock, and Dorne. Surely they will choose submission rather than destruction." "Most," agreed Lord Tywin. "Riverrun remains, but so long as Walder Frey holds Edmure Tully hostage, the Blackfish dare not mount a threat. Jason Mallister and Titus Blackwood will fight on for honour's sake, but the Freys can keep the Mallisters penned up at Seaguard, and with the right inducement, Jonas Bracken can be persuaded to change his allegiance and attack the Blackwoods. In the end, they will bend the knee. Yes, I mean to offer generous terms." This goes to show why Tywin was so smart, not letting his own emotions or desire for vengeance factor into his decision to find the quickest way to end the war. This is what really happened when Tyrion threatened Joffrey. The king turned to Grand Maester Pycelle, "And I want Robb Stark's head too. Write to Lord Frey and tell him, the king commands. I'm going to have it served to Sansa at my wedding feast." "Sire," Sir Kevan said, in a shocked voice, "the lady is now your aunt by marriage." "A jest," Cersei smiled. "Joff did not mean it." "Yes, I did," Joffrey insisted. "He was a traitor, and I want his stupid head. I'm going to make Sansa kiss it." "No," Tyrion's voice was hoarse. "Sansa is no longer yours to torment. Understand that, monster." Joffrey sneered. "You're the monster, uncle." "Am I?" Tyrion cocked his head. "Perhaps you should speak more softly to me then. Monsters are dangerous beasts. And just now, kings seem to be dying like flies." "I could have your tongue out for saying that," the boy king said, reddening. This is the moment Tywin lost all respect for Joffrey. Joffrey declares, "I'm the king." Cersei put a protective hand on her son's shoulder. "Let the dwarf make all the threats he likes, Joff. I want my lord father and my uncle to see what he is." Lord Tywin ignored that. It was Joffrey he addressed. Aerys also felt the need to remind men that he was king, and he was fond of ripping tongues out as well. You could ask Sir Ilyn Payne about that, though you get no reply. "Sir Ilyn never dared provoke Aerys the way your imp provokes Joff," said Cersei. "You heard him. Monster, he said, to the king's grace, and he threatened him." "Be quiet, Cersei. Joffrey, when your enemies defy you, you must serve them steel and fire. When they go to their knees, however, you must help them back to their feet. Elsewise, no man will ever bend the knee to you, and any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king at all. Ares never understood that, but you will. When I've won your war for you, we will restore the king's peace and the king's justice. The only head that need concern you is Margaery Tyrell's maidenhead. How Tywin put Joffrey back in his place after saying he hid under Castle Rock. Joffrey tells Tywin, a strong king acts boldly, he doesn't just talk. Thank you for that wisdom, your grace, Lord Tywin said, with a courtesy so cold it was like to freeze their ears off. Sir Kevin, I can see the king is tired. Please see him safely back to his bedchamber. Pycelle, perhaps some gentle potion to help his grace sleep restfully. Dream wine, my lord. I don't want any dream wine, Joffrey insisted. Lord Tywin would have paid more heed to a mouse squeaking in the corner. Dream wine will serve. Cersei, Tyrion, remain. Sir Kevin took Joffrey firmly by the arm and marched him out the door, where two of the Kingsguard were waiting. Grand Maester Pycelle scurried after them as fast as his shaky old legs could take him. Tyrion remained where he was. Father, I am sorry, Cersei said, when the door was shut. There was one castle that Tywin Lannister would not spare. At the small council, Tywin declares, any castles that yields to us will be spared, save one. Harrenhal, said Tyrion, who knew his sire. The realm is best rid of these brave companions. I have commanded Sir Gregor to put the castle to the sword. Gregor Clegane. It appeared as if his lord father meant to mine the mountain for every last nugget of ore before turning him over to Dornish justice. The brave companions would end up as heads on spikes, and Littlefinger would stroll into Harrenhal without so much as a spot of blood on those fine clothes of his. He wondered if Peter Baelish had reached the Vale yet. If the gods are good, he ran into a storm at sea and sank. But when had the gods ever been especially good? They should all be put to the sword, Joffrey declared suddenly. The Mallisters and Blackwoods and Brackens, all of them, they're traitors. I want them killed, grandfather. I won't have any generous terms. Again, Joffrey is an idiot. Joffrey embarrassed Cersei so much that she tried to apologize to her lord father by telling him, Joff has always been willful. I did warn you. There is a long league's worth of difference between willful and stupid. A strong king acts boldly? Who told him that? Not me, I promise you, said Cersei. Most like it was something he heard Robert say. The part about you hiding under Castle Rock does sound like Robert. Tyrion didn't want Lord Tywin forgetting that bit. Yes, I recall now, Cersei said. Robert often told Joff that a king must be bold. And what were you telling him, pray? I did not fight a war to see Robert II on the Iron Throne. You gave me to understand the boy cared nothing for his father. Why would he? Robert ignored him. He would have beat him if I'd allowed it. The brute you made me marry once hit the boy so hard he knocked out 2 of his baby teeth over some mischief with a cat. I told him I'd kill him in his sleep if he ever did it again, and he never did. But sometimes he would say things. It appears things needed to be said. Lord Tywin waved 2 fingers at her, a brusque dismissal. Go. This is what really happened when Joffrey tried to stand up to Tywin Lannister. Joffrey had that sullen, sulky look he got. Cersei had him firmly by the shoulder, but perhaps she should have had him by the throat. The boy surprised them all. Instead of scuttling safely back under his rock, Joff drew himself up defiantly and said, You talk about Ares, grandfather, but you were scared of him. Oh my, hasn't this got interesting, Tyrion thought. Lord Tywin studied his grandchild in silence, gold flecks shining in his pale green eyes. Joffrey, apologize to your grandfather, said Cersei. He wrenched free of her. Why should I? Everyone knows it's true. My father won all the battles. He killed Prince Rhaegar and took the crown, while your father was hiding under Castle Rock. The boy gave his grandfather a defiant look. Tywin actually complimented Tyrion's cunning as they discussed Oberyn raising Dorne for Daenerys' brother, Viserys. You have a certain cunning, Tyrion, but the plain truth is you talk too much. That loose tongue of yours will be your undoing. You should have let Joff tear it out, suggested Tyrion. You would do well not to tempt me, Lord Tywin said. I'll hear no more of this. I have been considering how best to appease Oberyn Martell and his entourage. Oh, is this something I'm allowed to know, or should I leave so you can discuss it with yourself? His father ignored the sally. Prince Oberyn's presence here is unfortunate. His brother is a cautious man, a reasoned man, subtle, deliberate, even indolent to a degree. He is a man who weighs the consequences of every word and every action. But Oberyn has always been half mad. Is it true he tried to raise dawn for Viserys? No one speaks of it, but yes, ravens flew and riders rode with what secret messages I never knew. Jon Arryn sailed to Sunspear to return Prince Lewin's bones, sat down with Prince Doran and ended all the talk of war. But Robert never went to Dorne thereafter, and Prince Oberyn seldom left it. Tywin and Tyrion actually discussed how to deal with Oberyn's demands for justice. Tyrion tells his father, well, he's here now, with half the nobility of Dorne in his tail, and he grows more impatient every day, said Tyrion. Perhaps I should show him the brothels of King's Landing. That might distract him. A tool for every task, isn't that how it works? My tool is yours, father. Never let it be said that House Lannister blew its trumpets and I did not respond. Lord Tywin's mouth tightened. Very droll. Shall I have them sew you a suit of motley and a little hat with bells on it? If I wear it, do I have leave to say anything I want about His Grace King Joffrey? Lord Tywin seated himself again and said, I was made to suffer my father's follies. I will not suffer yours. Enough. Tywin actually wouldn't give up the mountain to the Dornish despite knowing what he did. Tyrion says, very well, as you ask so pleasantly, the Red Viper is not going to be pleasant, I fear, nor will he content himself with Sir Gregor's head alone. All the more reason not to give it to him. Tyrion was shocked. I thought we were agreed that the woods were full of beasts. Lesser beasts. Lord Tywin's fingers laced together under his chin. Sir Gregor has served us well. No other knight in the realm inspires such terror in our enemies. Oberyn knows that Gregor was the one who, he knows nothing. He has heard tales, stable gossip, and kitchen calumnies. He has no crumb of proof. Sir Gregor is certainly not about to confess to him. I mean to keep him well away for as long as the Dornishmen are in King's Landing. And when Oberyn demands the justice he's come for, I will tell him that Sir Amory Lodge killed Elia and her children, Lord Tywin said calmly. So will you, if he asks. Tywin planned to tell Oberyn Martell that his bannerman Amory Lodge killed Elia Martell and her children, and not the mountain. Tywin says, I will tell him that Sir Amory Lodge killed Elia and her children. Sir Amory Lodge is dead, Tyrion said flatly. Precisely. Vargo Hoat had Sir Amory torn apart by a bear after the fall of Harrenhal. That ought to be sufficiently grisly to appease even Oberyn Martell. You may call that justice. It is justice. It was Sir Amory who brought me the girl's body. If you must know, he found her hiding under her father's bed, as if she believed Rhaegar could still protect her. Princess Elia and the babe were in the nursery a floor below. Well, it's a tale, and Sir Amory's not like to deny it. What will you tell Oberyn when he asks who gave Lorch his orders? Sir Amory acted on his own in the hope of winning favour from the new king. Robert's hatred for Rhaegar was scarcely a secret. It might serve, Tyrion had to concede, but the snake will not be happy. Tyrion thought his father was a fool for killing Elia and her children and not leaving it to Robert. Tyrion says, far be it for me to question your cunning, father, but in your place I do believe that I'd have let Robert Baratheon bloody his own hands. Lord Tywin stared at him as if he had lost his wits. You deserve the motley then. We had come late to Robert's cause. It was necessary to demonstrate our loyalty. When I laid those bodies before the throne, no man could doubt that we had forsaken House Targaryen forever, and Robert's relief was palpable. As stupid as he was, even he knew that Rhaegar's children had to die if his throne was ever to be secure. Yet he saw himself as a hero, and heroes do not kill children. His father shrugged. I grant you, it was done too brutally. Elia need not have been harmed at all. That was sheer folly. By herself, she was nothing. We found out why the Mountain killed Elia along with her children when he really didn't need to kill her specifically. Tyrion asks, then why did the Mountain kill her? Because I did not tell him to spare her. I doubt I mentioned her at all. I had more pressing concerns. Ned Stark's van was rushing south from the Trident, and I feared it might come to swords between us, and it was in Aerys to murder Jaime with no more cause than spite. That was the thing I feared most. That and what Jaime himself might do. He closed a fist. Nor did I yet grasp what I had in Gregor Clegane, only that he was huge and terrible in battle. Even you would not accuse me of giving that command, I would hope. Sir Amory was almost as bestital with Rhaerys. I asked him afterwards why it had required 100 thrusts to kill a girl of 2, 3. He said she'd kicked him and would not stop screaming. If Lorch had half the wits the gods gave a turnip, he would have calmed her with a few sweet words and used a soft silk pillow. His mouth twisted in distaste. The blood was in him, but not in you, father. There is no blood in Tywin Lannister. This is how Tywin recounted the events of the Red Wedding. Tyrion asks, was it a soft silk pillow that slew Robb Stark? It was to be an arrow at Edmure Tully's wedding feast. The boy was too wary in the field. He kept his men in good order and surrounded himself with outriders and bodyguards. So Lord Walder slew him under his own roof at his own table. Tyrion made a fist. What of Lady Catelyn? Slain as well, I'd say. A pair of wolf skins. Frey had intended to keep her captive, but perhaps something went awry. So much for guest right. The blood is on Walder Frey's hands, not mine. Walder Frey is a peevish old man who lives to fondle his young wife and brood over all the slights he's suffered. I have no doubt he hatched this ugly chicken, but he would never have dared such a thing without a promise of protection. Tywin explains to Tyrion why the Red Wedding was necessary. Tywin tells his son, I suppose you would have spared the boy and told Lord Frey you had no need of his allegiance. That would have driven the old fool right back into Stark's arm and won you another year of war. Explain to me why it is more noble to kill 10,000 men in battle than a dozen at dinner. When Tyrion had no reply to that, his father continued, the price was cheap by any measure. The crown shall grant Riverrun to Sir Emery Frey once the Blackfish yields. Lancel and Davin must marry Frey girls. Joy is to wed one of Lord Walder's natural sons when she's old enough, and Roose Bolton becomes Warden of the North and takes home Arya Stark. Arya Stark? Tyrion cocked his head. And Bolton, I might have known Frey would not have the stomach to act alone. But Arya? Varys and Sir Jacelyn searched for her for more than half a year. Tywin explains his plan for House Bolton to marry a fake Arya Stark so that he can claim the North. Tyrion says, Arya Stark is surely dead. So was Renly until the Blackwater. What does that mean? Perhaps Littlefinger succeeded where you and Varys failed. Lord Bolton will wed the girl to his bastard son. We shall allow the Deadfoot to fight the Ironborn for a few years and see if he can bring Stark's other bannermen to heel. Come spring, all of them should be at the end of their strength and ready to bend the knee. The North will go to your son by Sansa Stark, if you ever find enough manhood in you to breed one. Lest you forget, it is not only Joffrey who must needs take a maidenhead. I had not forgotten, though I'd hoped you had. And when do you imagine Sansa will be at her most fertile? Tyrion asked his father in tones that dribbled acid. Before or after I tell her how we murdered her mother and her brother? The Blackfish humiliated Jaime when the two met each other on the drawbridge outside of Riverrun and Brendan asked where his nieces are. Jaime drew up a yard from Sir Brendan and inclined his head to the older man. "Kingslayer," said Tully. That he would make the name the first word from his mouth spoke volumes, but Jaime resolved to keep his temper. "Blackfish," he responded. "Thank you for coming. I assume you have returned to fulfill the oaths you swore my niece," Sir Brendan said. "As I recall, you promised Catelyn her daughters in return for your freedom." His mouth tightened. "Yet I do not see the girls. Where are they? Must he makes me say it? I do not have them. Pity. Do you wish to resume your captivity? Your old cell is still available. We have put fresh rushes on the floor." "That was thoughtful of you, sir, but I fear I must decline. I prefer the comforts of my pavilion." Whilst Catelyn enjoys the comforts of her grave. The Blackfish reminded Jaime of Catelyn's unseemly death during negotiations. "I had no hand in Lady Catelyn's death," he might have said, "and her daughters were both gone before I reached King's Landing. It was on his tongue to speak of Brienne and the sword he'd given her, but the Blackfish was looking at him the way that Eddard Stark had looked at him when he'd found him on the Iron Throne with the Mad King's blood upon his blade. I came to speak of the living, not the dead, of those who need not die, but shall... Unless I hand you Riverrun, is this where you threaten to hang Edmure?" Beneath his bushy brows, Tully's eyes were stone. "My nephew is marked for death no matter what I do, so hang him and be done with it. I expect that Edmure is as wary of standing on those gallows as I am of seeing him there." The Blackfish refused to give up Robb's wife to Jaime Lannister. Jaime says, "You hold Lady Sibel Westerling and 3 of her children. I'll return your nephew in exchange for them." As you returned Lady Catelyn's daughters, Jaime did not allow himself to be provoked. "An old woman and 3 children for your liege lord. That's a better bargain than you could have hoped for." Sir Brendan smiled a hard smile. "You do not lack for gold, Kingslayer. Bargaining with oathbreakers is like building on quicksand, though. Cat should have known better to trust the likes of you." "It was Tyrion she trusted in," Jaime almost said. "The imp deceived her too. The promises I made to Lady Catelyn were wrung from me at sword point. And the oath you swore to Aerys," he felt his phantom fingers twitching. "Aerys is no part of this. Will you exchange the Westerlings for Edmure?" "No. My king entrusted his queen to my keeping, and I swore to keep her safe. I will not hand her over to a Frey noose. The girl has been pardoned. No harm will come to her. You have my word on that." The Blackfish really was Robb Stark's best commander. Jaime tells the Blackfish, "I would have slain Robb Stark in the Whispering Wood if I could have reached him. Some fools got in my way. Doesn't matter how the boy perished, he's no less dead, and his kingdom died when he did." "You must be blind as well as maimed, sir. Lift your eyes and you will see that the direwolf still flies above our wall." "I've seen him. He looks lonely. Harrenhal has fallen. Seaguard and Maidenpool. The Brackens have bent the knee and they've got Titus Blackwood penned up in Raventree. Piper, Vance, Mooton, all your bannermen have yielded. Only Riverrun remains. We have 20 times your numbers. 20 times the men require 20 times the food. How well are you provisioned, my lord?" "Well enough to sit here till the end of days if need be, whilst you starve inside your walls." He told the lie as boldly as he could, and hoped his face did not betray him. The Blackfish was not deceived. "The end of your days, perhaps. Our own supplies are ample. Though I fear we did not leave much in the fields for visitors." "We can bring food down from the Twins," said Jaime, "or over the hills from the west, if it comes to that." "If you say so. Far be it from me to question the word of such an honourable knight." The Blackfish didn't trust Jon Snow because of Catelyn. "Your word of honour?" Sir Brendan raised an eyebrow. "Do you even know what honour is? A horse. I will swear any oath that you require. Spare me, Kingslayer. I want to. Strike your banners and open your gates, and I'll grant your men their lives. Those who wish to remain at Winterfell in service to Lord Emmon may do so. The rest shall be free to go where they will, though I will require them to surrender their arms and armor. I wonder how far they will get unarmed before outlaws set upon them. You dare not allow them to join Lord Beric. We both know that. And what of me? Will I be paraded through King's Landing to die like Eddard Stark? I will permit you to take the Black. Ned Stark's bastard is the Lord Commander on the wall. The Blackfish narrowed his eyes. Did your father arrange for that as well? Catelyn never trusted the boy, as I recall, no more than she ever trusted Theon Greyjoy. It would seem she was right about them both. No, sir, I think not. I'll die warm, if you please, with a sword in hand running red with lion blood. Tully blood runs just as red, Jaime reminded him. Jaime nearly had a duel with his idol, the Blackfish. The scorn in his voice made Jaime bristle. There is a quicker way to decide the matter. A single combat, my champion against yours. I was wondering when you would get to that, Sir Brendan laughed. Who will it be? Strongbow, Adam Marbrand, Blackwater Frey? He leaned forward. Why not you and me, sir? That would have been a sweet fight once, Jaime thought. Fine fodder for the singers. When Lady Catelyn freed me, she made me swear not to take arms again against the Starks or Tullys. A most convenient oath, sir. Jaime's face darkened. Are you calling me a coward? No, I am calling you a cripple. The Blackfish nodded at Jaime's golden hand. We both know you cannot fight with that. I had two hands. Would you throw your life away for pride? A voice inside him whispered. The Blackfish humiliated Jaime by even refusing to fight him in single combat. Jaime says, some might say a cripple and an old man are well matched. Free me from my vow to Lady Catelyn, and I will meet you sword to sword. If I win, Riverrun is ours. If you slay me, we'll lift the siege. Sir Brendan laughed again. Much as I would welcome the chance to take the golden sword away from you and cut your black heart, your promises are worthless. I would gain nothing from your death but the pleasure of killing you, and I will not risk my own life for that, as small a risk as that may be. It was a good thing that Jaime wore no sword. Elsewise, he would have ripped his blade out, and if Sir Brendan did not slay him, the archers on the wall most surely would. Are there any terms you will accept? He demanded of the Blackfish. From you? Sir Brendan shrugged. No. Why did you even come to treat with me? A siege is deadly dull. I wanted to see this stump of yours, and hear whatever excuse you care to offer up for your latest enormities. They were feebler than I'd hoped. You always disappoint, Kingslayer. The Blackfish wheeled his mare and trotted back toward Riverrun. George R.R. Martin has completely fallen out with House of the Dragon showrunner Ryan Condal. George was asked about his rocky relationship with showrunner Ryan Condal, and his answer was, "It's worse than rocky," Martin says, looking miserable. It's abysmal. The disputes come from cutting characters from the book and merging them with other characters, which doesn't make sense, and Helaene Targaryen's missing child. George R.R. Martin said, I hired Ryan. I thought Ryan and I were partners, and we were, all through the first season. I would read early drafts of the scripts. I would give notes. He would change some things. It was working really well, I thought. When Ryan came to loggerheads with original Dragon co-showrunner Miguel Sapochnik, Ryan asked for Martin's support in their dispute, and got it. Miguel left the show after season 1. Then we got into season 2, and he basically stopped listening to me. I would give notes, and nothing would happen. Sometimes he would explain why he wasn't doing it. Other times he would tell me, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about that. It got worse and worse, and I began to get more and more annoyed. Finally, it got to a point where I was told by HBO that I should submit all my notes to them, and they would give Ryan our combined notes. Dunk found Egg wearing his armor and sitting on his horse. Dunk found the stable boy mounted on Thunder and wearing the old man's armor. The halberd was longer than he was, and he'd had to tilt the helm back on his bald head, or else it would have covered his eyes. He looked utterly intent and utterly absurd. Dunk stopped in the stable door and laughed. The boy looked up, flushed, vaulted to the ground. "My lord, I did not mean—" "Thief!" Dunk said, trying to sound stern. "Take off that armor, and be glad that Thunder didn't kick you in that fool head. He's a war horse, not a boy's pony." The boy took off the helm and flung it to the straw. "I could ride as well as you," he said, bold as he pleased. "Close your mouth. I want none of your insolence. That halberd too. Take it off. What do you think you were doing?" "How can I tell you with my mouth closed?" The boy squirmed out of the chainmail and let it fall. This is what was going through Dunk's head when he buried his mentor. The old man had often praised his strength. He had always been generous in his praise. It was all he had to give. He laid him out in the bottom of the grave and stood over him for a time. He knew he ought to fill the hole before the rain broke, but it was too hard to throw dirt down on that tired old face. There ought to be a septon here, to say some prayers over him, but he only has me. The old man had taught Dunk all he knew of swords and shields and lances, but had never been much good at teaching him words. "I'd lay your sword, but it would rust in the ground," he said, at last apologetic. "The gods will give you a new one, I guess. I wish you didn't die, sir." He paused, uncertain what else needed to be said. "You were a true knight, and you never beat me when I didn't deserve it," he finally managed. "Except that one time in Maidenpool. It was the inn boy who ate the widow woman's pie, not me. I told you. It don't matter now. The gods keep you, sir." He kicked dirt in the hole, then began to fill it. He had a long life, Dunk thought. At least he had lived to see another spring. This is how Egg asked to be Dunk's squire. "My mother?" The boy wrinkled up his face. "My mother's dead. She wouldn't say anything." He was surprised. Wasn't the innkeep his mother? "Are you an orphan boy?" he asked uncertainly. "Are you?" The boy threw back. "I was once," Dunk admitted, "till the old man took me in." "If you took me, I could squire for you." "I have no need of a squire," he said. "Every knight needs a squire," the boy said. "You look as though you need one more than most." Dunk raised a hand threateningly. "And you look as though you need a clout in the ear, it seems to me. Fill me a sack of oats. I'm off for Ashford alone." If the boy was frightened, he hid it well. For a moment he stood there, defiant, his arms crossed. But just as Dunk was about to give up on him, the lad turned and went for the oats. Dunk was relieved. "A pity I couldn't, but he has a good life here at the inn, a better one than he'd have squiring for a hedge knight. Taking him would be no kindness." He could still feel the lad's disappointment though. One of Robb Stark's former bannermen, Piper, storms from his war council with Jaime after demanding the Freys to know where his son is. However, Piper is not allowed to do that. "Send Sir Ilyn," urged Edwin Frey. "We only need his head." Carl Vance turned to Jaime. "Lord Piper spoke from grief. Mark is his firstborn son. Those knights who accompanied him to the Twins were nephews and cousins all." "Traitors and rebels all, you mean," said Edwin Frey. Jaime gave him a cold look. "The Twins took up the young wolf's cause as well," he reminded the Freys. "Then you betrayed him. That makes you twice as treacherous as Piper." He enjoyed seeing Edward's thin smile curdle up and die. "I have endured sufficient counsel for one day," he decided. "We're done. See to your preparations, my lords. We attack at first light." HBO is now developing a Game of Thrones sequel which will follow Arya Stark. Previously, there were talks and ideas about a sequel which followed Jon Snow, but they eventually fell through. However, HBO is now in the early development stage of the Arya Stark sequel, and already have a writer on board, called Kwok Dang Tran. However, no actors have yet been cast, not even Maisie Williams, who played Arya Stark in Game of Thrones. Hopefully, if this does go through, George is able to have a part in where the story goes. Cersei made Pycelle confess that Marjorie was drinking moon tea. Cersei threatens him. "Your oaths will be small comfort in the black cells," she warned him. "I'll hear the truth, or you'll wear chains." Pycelle collapsed to his knees. I beg you. I was your Lord Father's man, and a friend to you in the matter of Lord Arryn. I could not survive the dungeons, not again. Tyrion put him there the first time. Why does Margaery send for you? She desires... She... Say it! He cringed. Moon tea, he whispered. Moon tea for... Later, Cersei will say. The little queen has appetites that Tommen is as yet too young to satisfy. She may claim that Renly never touched her, but I will not believe it. This was Doran Martell's master plan to bring down House Lannister in the books. He is with his young daughter Arianna, and she learns that she had a secret marriage pact to a Targaryen. Promised. I was promised. Who is it? Who have I been betrothed to all these years? It makes no matter. He is dead. Then left her more baffled than ever. Arianna asked what killed him. It was a pot of molten gold. We princes make our careful plans, and the gods smash them all awry. When Arianne asks why he is doing all this, he replies, vengeance. His voice was soft. Justice. Prince Doran pressed the onyx dragon into her palm and whispered, fire and blood. Cersei slept with a Kingsguard knight, and in return, he would confess to the High Sparrow that he slept with Margaery. No, Osney touched her golden hair. The thing is, the best lives have some truth in them, to give 'em flavor, as it were. And you want me to go tell how I a queen. She almost slapped his face. Almost. But she had gone too far, and too much was at stake. All I do for Tommen. She turned her head and caught Sir Osney's hand with her own, kissing his fingers. They were rough and hard, callous from the sword. Robert had hands like that, she thought. Cersei wrapped her arms about his neck. I would not want it said I made a liar of you, she whispered in a husky voice. Give me an hour and meet me in my bedchamber. We waited long enough. He thrust his fingers inside the bodice of her gown and yanked, and the silk parted with a ripping sound so loud that Cersei was afraid that half of the Red Keep must have heard it. Take off the rest before I tear that too, he said. You can keep the crown on. I like you in the crown.